it tonight.
Oh, that's why nobody can hear me.
No, it wasn't you.
No.
As NCTV sets up, sometimes they're chattering, and I very politely muted them, but that's all right. They can
There you
unmute
go.
themselves when the time comes.
Yeah.
Which is a fairly new feature that kind of came along during the pandemic by popular demand.
Yeah, I would say.
Do you want me to put the headset on and it won't interfere with you?
So how many board members do we have in here right now?
I am counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me see everybody here.
Two, 3, 4.
I believe I see 6, Dr. Fletcher. I'm going to look at the
6.
actual. So we have a quorum, but I believe we were expecting
7.
everyone.
There are 7.
7.
So far that I've seen.
Okay.
7. So
I
we
believe
do
we're still
definitely have a
missing-
quorum.
Anastasia is not on yet, although I believe she plans to be on. And I think I saw Michael Branda, right?
Mr.
Yes.
Branda's here.
Mr. Sharma is here.
I think it's Jessica Weaver.
Jessica Weaver, thank you very much. So that's the
Jessica
two that are
and
missing.
Anastasia.
I am not aware that anyone was planning on being absent tonight.
Okay.
Jessica just sent me a message that she was just having an issue with her computer and she's trying again.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
you know what I'll do? I'll send her another invite. Sometimes that does the trick.
Yeah. So it's 7 o'clock and we have a quorum. So I'm going to call the meeting of the Newington Board of Education to order. And as all are able, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can be seated, and I'm going to ask for the clerk to please call the roll.
Michael Branda.
Here.
Danielle Drozd.
Here.
Dr. Bruce Fletcher.
Here.
Beth Mankey Hutwagner.
Here.
Richard LaBerry Air.
Present.
Amy Parati.
Here.
Sam Sharma. Sam Sharma.
I believe we have a quorum.
Jessica Weaver.
Here.
Anastasia Yap. I have Mr. Sharma and Miss Yap absent.
Okay. And we do have a quorum, so we can move forward. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brummett for the presentation of awards and proclamations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fletcher. I am thrilled tonight to honor not 1, but 2 everyday heroes, and I don't think they know about each other.
I'm here, guys. Hold on. Just making sure.
Yes, Sam Sharma is here.
Yeah, my mic wasn't working, but it's working.
Okay, I'll change
right.
that.
Thank you.
So first up this evening is Michelle Klett. She has been nominated by Rick Bangs. And here is what Rick has to say about Michelle Klett. And Michelle Klett is a teacher at John Wallace Middle School, for those that don't know. He writes, I have been Michelle's partner for about 15 years. Michelle works tirelessly for the betterment of her students. She is their greatest advocate, source of information, and supporter. She often will check in with students who she knows are having a rough time. She builds time in her schedule to have lunch groups with kids. In addition to the many ways she goes above and beyond the call of duty, she still maintains a positive learning environment for all students. She makes sure that her students' needs are met on a daily basis and that they are challenged and supported throughout their learning process. Michelle inspires me on a daily basis to be a better teacher. Despite the fact that I may have more experience in years, I admire greatly her skills as an educator. The skills she possesses make her the teacher she is. I could not think of a better teacher to have been a partner with all these years. She makes my job easier and makes each of her students happy to be members of John Wallace and Room 512 community. There is no one that I can think of more deserving than this recognition. So congratulations to Michelle Klett. Here is her award. I was fortunate enough to get over to the school yesterday to let her know this was happening, and she was thrilled, and rightly so. And I was here today for another reason, and her classroom was just buzzing with activity and, frankly, joy. So I will turn it back over to you, Dr. Fletcher, to let me know if you want any comments from anyone else or to go on to the second award.
Okay, we would like to give Michelle Klett an opportunity to say something if she's available and wants to.
Hi there. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Michelle.
I feel honored to be recognized. Honestly, it was super surprising, a nice surprise. I am so fortunate to work with a great fifth grade team, a great team at Wallace. I value the collaborative effort among all of us. I think we all just kind of add to the strength down there in the team. It was nice to hear those things from my teammate. I appreciate that, Rick. We have a really great team going on in grade 5, and I think we really kind of build each other up definitely in this really difficult year that I think a lot of educators can say is much more challenging than last year. So thank you for those kind words, Rick. Didn't you played it off really well when I told you the news. I wasn't didn't call that one. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I will take a moment now if there are any board members that want to make a comment. And let me see, I got to get back to where the hands are. So we'll start with Michael Branda.
Thanks, Dr. Fletcher. I'll be brief. I just really love hearing the teachers consider each other partners and teammates. I think especially now you need it more than ever. Just with everything that you're dealing with, Michelle, as you mentioned, this year is probably tougher than last year because I think we had different expectations, or maybe we thought things were going to get better and they just seem to be getting worse and worse again. But I just love that you stay positive and you lead by example, and you're challenging not only your students, but clearly your peers as well. And I think that makes for just a wonderful school environment. And at Wallace, my daughter is in 6th grade there, so I know all about what goes on in Wallace and how amazing it is there. So thank you so much for your part in contributing to that.
Okay, and Miss Jessica Weaver.
Yeah, I'll just echo Mr. Branda's sentiments. I love this part. This is my favorite part of the meetings because we finally get to highlight really what our everyday heroes are. And every time we learn something new about a new teacher, or at least the community gets to see someone, whether they're a familiar face or not, I think it's really important. We highlight not only the work that you're doing, but also for our students, but for our teachers as well. Like Mr. Branda said, I think it's really great when it speaks to how highly colleagues can speak of each other, and also how close they are that they can pull one on someone else and pull a surprise off. It really just shows the camaraderie that's in our staff, and I think that just speaks to how strong our teachers are, not only because they are going through this, we'll keep saying unprecedented time because I don't know when it's going to be precedented again, but we thank you for all of your work, and this is long overdue for every single teacher, but I'm so glad we get to highlight your work and glad to hear more about you and your staff as well. So thank you so much and congratulations.
All right, thank you very much. And Miss Beth Hutwagner.
Hi, Michelle. I'm also a middle school teacher, so I know that this is an extra special year. So I'm with you, and the fact that you're working with so collaboratively with other staff, and they think so highly of you is just absolutely touching. I think the kids are so very lucky to have you. Keep it up. Newington's lucky to have you, and though this is a tough year, clearly you are rising above it, and I think it's just really beautiful that Dr. Brown said when she walked by your classroom, there's sounds of joy. That's really important for kids. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Sharma.
Hi, Michelle. Just want to congratulate you. Thanks for going above and beyond and setting an example. So congratulations, and this is really inspiring. Thanks.
Yes, Michelle, congratulations. Well earned. All right. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Brummett. I believe you have another presentation.
I do. Turns out that Mr. Bangs has been a busy guy. He was so compelled about how wonderful his team is. He nominated one of the other members of his team, Miss Tara Fitzsimmons, and I let her know today, and she was equally excited. And what I will say about our everyday heroes is they're often surprised. And I wonder, oh my gosh, do they not realize how special they are? Because they're like, really? Someone nominated me? They were both quite surprised. Here's what Mr. Bangs says about Ms. Fitzsimmons. Tara has worked through numerous challenges of grade level and subject matter changes. She meets the challenges seamlessly every single day. Despite whatever challenges may face Tara outside of school as well, she comes in and provides her students with a nurturing, positive, and energetic learning environment. Tara Fitzsimmons continues to be on a daily basis the reason why her students come to school. The students in her class thrive in their subject matter and in their love for school. She is always willing to reach out and be there for her students who are having challenges, as well as the students who excel in academics and in interpersonal relationships. Every student who has walked through Tara's door leaves a better person. Grade 5 at Wallace got monumentally better when Tara moved back from 6th grade. She joined our teaching team without missing a beat. Tara's addition has made a lasting impact on me as well as our students. I work with two of the best educators Newington has to offer in Michelle Klett and Tara Fitzsimmons. I feel there are no two better colleagues more deserving of this Everyday Hero nomination. So congratulations. And I will tell you, when I was in Tara's class today to let her know about this, and I whispered to one of the students that their teacher was an Everyday Hero, they just started to smile and say, oh, yay. So I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Fletcher.
Okay, is Miss Fitzsimmons here and willing to speak?
Sure. Thank you so much, everyone. Rick, thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be on this team. Again, I'm going to echo what Michelle said. I think we work very well together, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And also at Wallace under the direction of Mr. Dias too. I mean, I appreciate everybody and, you know, everybody's support. So, and thanks for the recognition. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I was shocked, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. And board members, if you would like to comment, Ms. Drozd. Your mic is muted.
Getting there. It's not like it was working great the other night. So I wanted to just reach out to both of them because rather than taking 2 times. So Michelle, I don't know you, but awesome job. And Tara, I've loved you forever, and you are so well deserving. So one of my all-time favorite teachers at Wallace. You are so phenomenal. My son still talks about how amazing you are. So I'm glad that you haven't lost your touch over the years. So congratulations to both of you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you. And Mr. Branda.
Thanks, Dr. Fletcher. Yeah, so Tara and Michelle, you guys both must have really inspired Mr. Bangs to get these dual recognition. And, you know, just knowing the reputation of Mr. Bangs, I think that also speaks to both of your qualities as well, because it probably takes a lot to impress such a great teacher and a well-known educator in our district. And, you know, I just want to say to you, Tara, just a little bit of the same thing. I'm just so grateful to hear of what an impact you're having on the district, on Wallace, on the students, and really on your peers and your colleagues. Just being able to help them along this tough time and inspiring them while you're inspiring your students who are so excited for you. So thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you. And
Thank
Miss
you.
Weaver?
All right, well, I'm not gonna stop Love Fest here, so we'll continue Love Fest, and I'm so happy that it's like a team Love Fest. This is really cool. I think it really just speaks to, and again, for those who don't know, we don't know who's getting honored before it's announced too, so it's a surprise to us as well, and it's always a pleasant surprise. I think I grew up on the Kellogg side, so I'm always curious to hear about the amazing teachers on the other side, and then every time I'm just so impressed by the stories we hear and the detail in which our nominees are nominated. I get to hear more and more, and I think it's really great for us to see how well everyone works together. And I think during this time we're always looking for stories of hope. We're looking for the positives and what seems to be really dark. So thank you for bringing that positive. Thank you for bringing that light when it just seems like a lot of us are having a little trouble getting going and continuing to go on. So really know that makes a huge impact, not only on students, but to see a staff like that work that well. I know many workplaces are jealous with envy there. So thank you so much and congratulations. Well deserved.
Thank you. And Mr. Sharma?
Hi, Tara. Thanks a lot for going above and beyond. It's like so inspiring. So congratulations again. Thank you.
Okay, and this is for board members at this time. So, oh, Ms. Yop, you got the last name of Cherry on here. I did not recognize the name. All right, go ahead. Anastasia, you're muted.
She may not be able to unmute herself if she's in a different account.
Let's see. Yeah. And I cannot unmute her because I
just got back on.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
We can see and hear you, so go ahead.
Okay, sorry, it booted me off. I just wanted to say thank you so much and congratulations. Thank you for being a part of Newington's school system. I don't have a child who's in your grade yet, but I'm excited to know that he will have phenomenal, amazing, teachers like you both in our school system. And thank you. Congratulations.
All right. And thank you very much. And so that concludes our comments from the board. So Dr. Brummett, do you have more?
I do not. I just wanted to make sure that before Michelle and Tara sign off that they look at the chat feature. There have been some nice bang outs in there. And if it's okay with you, Dr. Fletcher, Mr. Diaz is on the line, principal of John Wallace. I didn't know if he wanted to chime in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. I couldn't think of two more deserving teachers here than Tara and Michelle. And, everything you heard from Rick certainly rings true. And, the one thing of that team, and particularly Tara and Michelle, is, we hear a lot today about, SEL and putting kids first and making sure we're making connections with kids. And both Tara and Michelle and Rick have been doing that for years. And they've always understood that, it's important to make connections with those kids, make them feel safe, make them feel welcome in their classroom. And that's how you're really going to see gains in learning. So they've understood that. They've led that work for a long time. I think a lot are catching up and understanding that, but this team certainly has been doing that. And the kids in their classroom, like you said, Dr. Brummett, just walking by, you can see the joy, you can see the connections there. And that's why they're such a great team. So congratulations to both of you. Very well deserving, and nice job, Mr. Banks, keeping that quiet. And I thought we were promised Mrs. Klett to maybe see Brody in there at some point. If I don't know if we see him yet, but I think
Yes,
Dr.
I did request Brody.
We were going to get a screenshot in there of him at some point.
He apparently is quite popular in her classroom. The lab, there he is.
All right.
He's the very well part of the class. He swings by from outside on occasion, as I understand it. So want to make sure Brody gets his just due. Awesome.
In both you and the whole team. It's a special night and very well deserved.
Back to you, Dr. Fletcher.
Okay, so that concludes our presentation of awards and proclamations for this evening. We are now going to move on to item C, which is public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. A couple of things. We want you to know that we limit your comments to 3 minutes. Also, as you come on, please state your name and just give the street that you live on. You don't have to give the number for your own sake, but just state the street. And if you are going to ask a question, we will not be responding to those questions tonight. We turn those over to the appropriate people, and we seek to get back to you in a timely manner so that you can get a good answer, okay? So with that all said, I will open it up now for public participation. And we have Sarah Yeager. And there you go.
Yes. Hi, Sarah Yeager from East Robbins Avenue.
Okay.
Okay. So in hopes that I don't run out of time, again, like last time, I would like to just quickly remind everyone that the vaccine is only approved for emergency use, and it's not approved for adults, despite what mainstream media wants you to believe. Did you know that any approved vaccine is actually not available in the United States? So there is a push for an unapproved emergency use only product on our children. A vaccine clinic in the school is uncalled for. Schools are not healthcare facilities. And did you know that emergency use product is only approved if there's no other therapeutics available? And there's quite a few. So Newington needs to start asking itself some questions that require some real critical thinking. Newington's own Gary Turco, Senator Lesser, and of course, Governor Lamont did not think twice about taking away our children's constitutional rights back in April 2021. And legislators promised the removal of religious exemption had nothing to do with COVID. And it has everything to do with COVID and controlling the masses. And I will pull my child from school, and this will hurt the school's pockets. And isn't this why like all this madness is occurring? And if you don't follow this, what the state says, you don't get your ESSER funds. And no one has a backbone to go against that. So speaking of ESSER funds, in the CARES Act, Connecticut has accepted $1.7 billion from the federal government. In order to receive these funds, the government's created a checklist of requirements that the schools need to follow. Requirements such as masking, social distancing, contact tracing, isolation, and quarantining, and the soon vaccination of 85% or more students. Were parents made aware of these stipulations? I was not. Were we notified that the funding was only available with strings attached? I surely was not. So if the governor's executive orders end, will you continue these requirements in order to receive money from the feds? These are no longer public schools, they're government schools, and it's becoming a mentally abusive place to be. Yesterday, I picked up my daughter from Necky in Ruth Chafee's cafeteria. And have you been there? Have you sat down with the students at lunch and have to be behind a plastic wall? Because if not, there are large plastic dividers on the cafeteria tables, and the kids sit 3 to a table. I will always make sure that my daughter knows that she is not a threat to anyone, and I feel so sad for her and her friends. This is not what childhood is about, not seeing anyone's faces for an extended amount of time, which is critical to development, being separated by walls, sitting 3 to 6 feet away from each other because, God forbid, they gleeked at someone at lunch.
Okay, you've got about 15 seconds left.
Perfect. I actually apologize to her because I'm leaving her in this depressing environment. I suggest that each of you visit a Connecticut state prison and see how the inmates eat. There's no dividers, no masks, and definitely no social distancing. Maybe then you'll realize criminals in society are being treated better than our innocent children. This encouraging fear needs to end. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Yeager.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have Anastasia Kleiman. State your name and your street, please.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for your time. My name is Anastasia and I live on Crestview Drive. I have a child at E Green. I know I have 3 minutes, so I'm actually going to set my timer right now. I just wanted to kind of bring something to everyone's attention today. Mr. Marciano put on a presentation on December 7th, which he was very open about and very encouraging of families to come and come in person to the presentation. He offered door prizes and everything. We weren't able to make it to the presentation, but he did kindly share the slides right away when we asked to see them. And if it's okay, I would like to just kind of present those slides to you guys and kind of just share that with you as well. It's from the ruler presentation. It's just a couple of slides that were at the end of that presentation.
Are you requesting to present?
Yes, if possible. If not, I can quote the presentation and share it with you later, whatever you prefer.
Dr. Fletcher?
Dr. Brummett, that's going to be up to her because she controls that part of it, not me. I don't know.
It is feasible. I've never had that request before, but it is feasible. I can stop presenting and Miss Kleiman can take over the screen. I'm
Sure,
assuming
no
she's
problem.
showing something that was presented to eGreen parents, you're saying?
Yes, it was presented on December 7th by Mr. Marciano. It's the ruler program, which I think many of you are familiar with. I'm just going to pause my time though, because I really just need the 3 minutes, if that's okay, as we get this presentation set up.
As long as you can do it quickly, otherwise we'll just have you share it with us for the sake of time.
Sure.
We got a big agenda behind us yet.
No problem. You let me know. Are you able to, am I able to share? Oh yeah, I
Yes,
can present. Okay.
you can,
I'm
yeah.
gonna just go ahead, put on my screen. All right, you guys are seeing yourselves right now. You're about to see the presentation. So the beginning part of the ruler presentation, as you know, is all about social emotional learning, which I think we can all agree is very important for elementary age students. Sorry, I have to stop sharing and then I'm gonna just pull it up. Here it is. All right.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're having difficulty with this. So
Okay,
why
no
don't you
problem.
share that to us in our emails if you don't mind.
Sure,
And we'll just
absolutely. So
resume
what
your
I'll do
slide.
is I'll just quote some notes from the presentation. So the ruler presentation is about social emotional learning. From there were a few slides at the end that really concerned me. The final slides were from the anti-racist curriculum. And basically just to quote some of the content that was shared word by word. So it says that our job is to go from being inclusive parents to being anti-racist parents. And anti-racist parents teach their children that skin color deeply affects how people view us, that we should give children contextual examples of their privilege. We should teach about white supremacy and representative history. And I just wanted to bring this up today, especially because as we have Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday, who famously was quoted saying, you know, we should judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. I'm seeing this presentation and it's saying the exact opposite, that we should teach children that they are implicitly racist, which it says in the presentation as early as age 3, and that we should teach them that the most important factor that they'll be judged by is the color of their skin. And I would like the board, if possible, to please look into this curriculum a little bit more. I'd like to investigate where it came from, how it's being played out in our schools, and make sure there's an opportunity for parents to have an open dialogue on how this curriculum is implemented. And like I said, I'd love to share the slides with you because they really speak for themselves.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right,
Does
you're
anyone
welcome.
have any questions?
Well, we're not going to entertain questions right now, okay? So what we'll do, we'll just ask you to go onto the Board of Ed website, and you'll find our email addresses there, and we'll welcome you to send that and any other concerns that you have. Okay?
Okay, absolutely. Thank
All
you.
right. And is there anyone else from the public that wishes to make comments or ask questions? I don't see any hands. Okay. I want to thank the two of you for participating. We are going to now move on.
And Dr. Fletcher, I apologize. If we could just have a valid email address for you, that would be so helpful. I was able to reach Mr. Levieri and also Anastasia.
It was fixed today.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was fixed today. Quick explanation to everybody. I was a staff member until 2019. When I left, my email and Google accounts were closed. When I came back on as a board member, they were not able to activate my old email address. So they had to change it in order to make it work. But the correct one is now there as of today. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. So item D, our standing committee information items. We're going to move to line 2, facilities committee report. Mr. Leverrier.
Yes, thanks. So we met and we discussed a few things. One thing that was stood out was that there was a little bit of a discrepancy with the roof repair report. $300,000 in additional dollars listed there. Tech Reserve Fund. We had some discussion about the Tech Reserve Fund, about potentially significant reductions. Dr. Fletcher, I'm not sure if what the tech department has received per se, but the budget that was listed there, there was some imbalance that may need to be reviewed further. I would recommend an opportunity to do that as well, because it did go over the cap fairly significantly. I'm not going to speak on behalf of any other members, but Ms. Droz did bring up something related to Chromebook cost from 22 to 23, as well as from Mr. Sharma was discussing something related to revenue from more students from Hartford. I would defer to both of them for comments, as well as there was a significant agreement as to cutting back the potential bonding project for the turf fields.
Okay. Does that conclude your report?
More or less, but I'm happy to entertain questions as they come up.
Okay. So what we can do, because it is on the agenda tonight to be discussed on E7. It sounds like we're not going to want to move it forward, but Dr. Brummett?
I did check with Mr. Laverriere before the meeting. We have significant updates for the board under that agenda item of E7. So some of the issues that Mr. Laverriere just raised, not all of them, but some of them are going to be discussed. I don't recall any cap issues, but we'll certainly show the CIP plan again and certainly address questions about Chromebooks, laptops, and the turf field. Those were issues that the committee had asked for follow-up and more detailed information about, as well as the bus replacement cycle. So that will be covered under E7.
Okay. So we will look at that then when we get to it. Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Laverriere. And we're going to go to
You're welcome.
Line 6. Our student representatives, are they with us?
Yes, they both are.
Deisha and James.
We're here. Jimmy's actually going to get started today, so I'll let him.
All right.
All right. So starting off, first off, music and arts. So musical rehearsals for Into the Woods have started. Yay. The Chamber Choir had a successful trip to New York where they saw Chicago and participated in a theater and dance workshop for Chicago, as well as meeting some of the cast members, being able to exchange thoughts like, oh, hey, how did you come to be here? Stuff like that. Orchestra, choir, and band have had all very successful winter concerts. Despite attendance restrictions due to COVID, they all were very fun events. Triam, which is Musical National Honor Society, volunteers have ushered multiple NHS concerts, as well as they're beginning to volunteer at middle school concerts as a way of building, strengthening the bond between middle school students and high school students, and taking them under the wing and being like, okay, this is what it's going to look like when you're in high school. As far as sports go, NHS girls varsity basketball is currently ranked number 1 and seeded as number 1 during the midseason. Yes, round of applause to them. Yeah. As far as cheer goes, winter cheerleading is starting. The team is thankful to have a new coach, and practices will be starting this week, and competitions will hopefully begin at the end of February. Indoor track, their latest meet was on Monday, January 10th, and despite minimal attendance, it actually went very, very well. Hockey, they won their game on Saturday, January 8th against E.O. Smith, 3-1. And boys swimming won their meet on Tuesday, January 4th against East Catholic. In other news, next Wednesday, January 19th, as part of the Wacky Wednesday initiative started by Ms. Tigno, it'll be Best Boots Day. So that'll be fun. I gotta find my pair of boots. And as far as update on graduation, senior gown fittings are today, well, were today, and are tomorrow at your school.
Man, that's hard to believe already.
Yeah. Just some updates on the clubs. So DECA, we have decided to postpone our winter meeting to later this month and most likely virtually, just so everyone's a little more comfortable. Competitors are working hard on prepping for their role plays for March 2nd and 3rd, which are the competition dates. We will be participating virtually this year. And we are also working on studying for the written exams, which will take place in February. The students planning to attend the Sports and Entertainment Marketing Conference. We all joined on a meeting with our parents to review all instructions and restrictions. Ms. Miller briefed through the itinerary and all the new updates. In terms of debate club, members have suggested the topics that we should debate this remainder of the school year. So we will be beginning to have more regular meetings. For student council, the Stuco Spirit Committee decorated the school with the winter spirit before students returned back from winter break. So during one of the days during break, students went into the building and we put up snowflakes and just kind of put up candy canes. So when everyone came back, it was a little nice surprise. Crochet Club has members deciding on a big group project to focus on so that they can all come together and do like a larger project in addition to individual ones. In terms of academics, Social Studies Honor Society new members have been inducted and regular meetings will start soon. National Honor Society, the service projects continue to be proposed and executed, and members are still expected to present their hours at every meeting. English National Honor Society, the Seniors to Senior Pen Pal program has begun. And I had actually written a letter and I got one back today, and it's such a nice initiative that the seniors are really enjoying their letters. And students are also volunteering to help finish up the 2022 yearbook. Science National Honor Society, we are having our induction ceremony for the new members virtually tomorrow. And the end of the second quarter and first semester is approaching, and it will now be on the 18th, originally supposed to be the 13th, but due to this snow days, it has been pushed back. A couple other updates. It has been proposed that we play music during passing periods, just to kind of have something a little more fun and exciting. And we were thinking that a Google form can be made for students to submit suggestions. And just another update that will begin starting the 18th, all homerooms will be extended starting the second semester. And then in terms of COVID, just students are seem to be getting a little more anxious as COVID cases continue to rise. Part of the anxiety stemming from schoolwork being missed, but other than that, that's all we have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And I believe we will have questions from our board members. Ms. Hutt-Wagner, please go ahead.
Thank you. Not so much a question, but I'm just sitting here kind of wishing that I was in high school again, because there are such wonderful things going on. I would love to do Wacky Wednesday. I would love to have music played in the hallway between my breaks. I would really enjoy the trip to New York City. I'm a Broadway obsessed girl over here, so that would be lovely. Varsity girls basketball, #1. That is outstanding. Really, I'll cut to the chase. You wouldn't know that there's a pandemic going on based on that report. There are so many beautiful things going on in Newington schools, and specifically at the high school. Students and teachers in the school community, you all are flourishing and making anybody who doesn't go to Newington High School truly wish that they did. Thank you, both of you, for such a comprehensive report. And additionally, thank you for your positivity. We have a lot of things to discuss tonight, and budget season is coming, and it's just really nice to listen to some students talk about some positive things for a minute and kind of remember why we're here. So thank you to both of you. Keep up the great work and enjoy your Wacky Wednesday next week.
Dr. Fletcher? Oh, You look like you are muted, Dr. Fletcher.
I was muted. I'm sorry. Ms. Droz.
Great job from both of you. I just have a quick question for Vidisha. I don't know if you have the answer. Do you know why homeroom? I'm just curious, being nosy, why homeroom is being extended for the second semester? Did they tell you guys why, or?
I think it has to do with the fact that we were having quite often we were having extended homerooms to fit in like the social emotional learning activities, and like sometimes like we would have to have them for pre-SATs and etc. So I think it just made more sense to have them for all of them. That's my understanding, but I
can ask Mrs. Tigna. I just didn't know if you knew. That's awesome. Thank you. Good answer. I'm so proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Ms. Weaver.
Just want to say, great job as always. I think sometimes not everyone knows what's going on, and you always give even more thorough reports. Like you're stepping up the game every time. And not that I didn't expect that, but great job. I saw all the pictures of Chamber Choir, and I was actually in the city then, so I was like, oh, I don't want to see them, but you know, seeing Mr. Clark continue to do that is one of my favorite things, and I'm just really excited to see where that goes. I also want to give a shout out to Mrs. Miller for doing this. DECA kind of started up again when I was a senior, and to see how much it's grown and to see how many students are really taking charge in that is just wonderful to see. And Vidisha, I just had one more question because I know you're kind of a part of it. Is there any update on the Women in Leadership Club?
So Jimmy and I actually had that in our report, but I'm not actually in the Women in Leadership. And we weren't able to get an answer from somebody who was in it, so we decided to leave that out. But I will.
All good. No, I'm keeping you on your toes, guys. We love it. I really want to say thank you both so much. And I want to say also a shout out because I think we'll be hearing from Mr. Trowbridge later. But the graphics have been wonderful on all the social media sites, seeing all of the updates from sports. They're wonderful graphics. They look amazing with our new logo and everything. It's just awesome to see because I think it makes not only Newington look more professional, but just like our sports teams seem to be doing better now. That's happened. Maybe that's a correlation, not causation, but I'm excited to hear about our comms later. So really good segue, guys. Thank you all. And just for the good work, and also good luck on, I know there's no finals or there's no midterms, but there are finals for half year courses. But I assume you guys are getting 90s and above anyway, so you don't have to take them. So great job.
All right, thank you. And Mr. LeVerriere.
Yes, for Ms. Thakar and Mr. Vendetti. With the music in the hallways, is there like, can you tell me what the benefit to the students from that would be?
Can I take this?
Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy. I was gonna say.
All right, thank you. And as Vidisha said, there are tensions within the school are rising. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, it's mostly because of COVID. Not necessarily but like the dangers of getting infected, because it's more about like being out of school for a long period of time and having a lot of schoolwork to make up. So we actually met with Ms. Tigno about this, and a student came forward and presented the idea, hey, what if we had music playing during the off time to maybe release some of that tension? And Ms. Tigno loved it and was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And so we're doing it.
Also, just like the anticipation of, oh, like, is my song playing? Or like when your song plays, you can tell your friends like, oh, that was the song I suggested, and just like something to get a little excited over.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Does that conclude your reports? Oh, Ms. Parati, she has a comment.
Sorry, I just really quickly want to say thank you for being candid about the anxiety, COVID, everything that's going on. It's, we know it too, but just thank you for, in front of this large group, just, letting us know that you're feeling it, because we know everyone is. So thank you. Thanks for keeping everything positive, and thanks for your report.
Okay, and thank you. Okay, we're now going to go to item E, and our first thing up will be our COVID report, the update on that. Dr. Brummett.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. As promised to the board last month, I came prepared to discuss our current protocols, as well as Ms. Krause is here this evening to talk about how our program works when students are temporarily remote. So I just want to share with the board briefly the notice that all parents received shortly after break, and then this was updated. I'm not going to go through it line by line, but this was shared with parents, I believe, right before break ended, as well as some updates provided that same week that we were back, and letting the parents know about our new, not our new mitigation strategies, but the new protocols for students who are exposed and the shortened quarantine timelines. And I also introduced most recently our new COVID dashboard, which gives parents some real-time information. It's updated on a weekly basis. So right now this is, as of January 6th. And you can certainly see that we had significant uptick. A lot of this is because of break, where kids were not necessarily wearing masks during break. But anyway, this is posted on our website and it's updated in real time on a weekly basis. So parents have that. And we are communicating out to parents that staff now have access to N95 masks, as well as COVID tests. And when we are sending children home who are symptomatic, we are offering to parents to send a COVID test home with that child, so that if they are in fact are not COVID positive and their symptoms improve, they can come back almost right away. And we're hoping that is giving parents the convenience of being able to get their children back as soon as possible. We were allocated about 1,400 tests from the federal government, and we've ordered a few more on our own, and I'm supposed to get another shipment later this week. So I believe all told we'll have a good supply, and we also have supplies for staff who aren't able to get a COVID test out in the community. Most folks know that's a little bit challenging to do right now. So our new guidelines are in place. Parents, have questions, but we're communicating with them when they reach out. We certainly communicate back. We also had a forum for all of our staff last week so that they were familiarized with the new protocols, why they were implemented, how to access an N95 mask, how to access a COVID test if you need it. So we're just trying to really keep parents and staff informed about what's happening with the COVID protocols. But I know equally important to this update is what happens when a child is quarantined, either because they have COVID or they're symptomatic and they're awaiting a test result. So I would like to turn it over to Ms. Kraus for a brief explanation about how we are dealing with children in those circumstances. Ms.
I'm
Kraus?
sorry. May I please just interrupt for a second? Which section are you on right now, Dr. Brummett?
We're on E1, the COVID protocol and temporary remote instruction update.
My apologies for interrupting.
All right, Ms. Kraus.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'll just give a little overview of how this looks right now, and it is ever evolving based on what we're seeing at any given time. But basically, when students are placed on a temporary remote status, they find directions in Google Classroom that will explain to them how they are to access learning for that day. In the upper grades, that's per class. And of course, at the elementary level, that would be for their classroom teacher. And there's two ways that can take place. The first is that the student might be asked to join the class virtually. We consider that synchronous learning all at the same time in person. Or they might be asked to access the lessons right in Google Classroom, which is considered asynchronous, and they can do that on their own time. The teacher determines which of those is most appropriate, and we ask them to take into consideration the content of the lesson, any needs of that student. As an example, some teachers have found, particularly like I observed this in a math class in the upper grades, that the teacher found that if she did a video of the mini lesson, then the students were able to watch it on their own, pause it as they needed, versus joining class virtually when sometimes they have trouble hearing and that kind of thing. So they make that determination between those two. But as you can imagine, both of those can be challenging, particularly for our young learners. So as a result, early on, we established a K-4 temporary remote tutor support program, whereby we hired 2 tutors who meet with our temporary remote students virtually, 1 to 2 sessions during the day, depends on the day of the week. because we have one tutor that's part-time. They focus primarily on math and reading. They actually go into the Google Classroom of the classroom teachers of those students. They get a sense of what the teachers were teaching that day, and then they help them. They kind of provide an overview of it. And if the student is having any difficulty with the assignments from the teacher, they will also support them with that. So we've had that in place since the beginning of October. Since then, we've also refined the model further. Many of you know that at our K-4 classes, we have a morning meeting each day. So we are asking our students on temporary remote to join the morning meeting, even if they're going to be doing some of their other learning with the temporary remote tutors. And this is our way of making sure they can stay connected with the class. And that's the time that we do a lot of our social emotional learning. So that works out nicely. More recently, especially with this rise in cases, we're now replicating this temporary remote tutor support at the secondary level. At the middle level, we're hiring tutors, mostly college students, who are going to be assigned to a grade level in a team. So it would be one person overseeing, like, say, grade 6 team A, and they will be available at certain times for those students to log on as needed, and the tutor would be able to support them with any work where they need assistance. And then at the high school level, we're replicating it through peer tutoring, which we do have at the high school, but this is our way of allowing our temporary remote students to access it. We're setting up a schedule by period that would be communicated to the students on temporary remote, and then they would be able to log in to meet with that peer tutor as well. So this is all kind of in response to feedback we're hearing and things that we're seeing along the way. And I'm sure we will continue to refine things as things shift and we continue to try to meet this need.
Thank you, Ms. Krause. I would like to add that our own Vidisha Thakar is one of the tutors that is signed up. We are still organizing that. And earlier this week, Mr. Jarvis reached out to me and indicated there may be some members of the Key Club who would like to join forces. So that's a work in progress, but we're thrilled to have over 10 of our very top students and students who are eager to be supportive to help kids who are having any challenges online. I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Fletcher, for any questions.
Okay, Ms. Hutwagner.
Hi, thank you. I'm really glad to hear about that support for our students who are temporary remote, because we certainly don't want to see any additional learning time lost in progress toward standards. One quick question, I'm guessing that this will continue throughout this month with a lot of students out. And I'm just interested to see how these absences will affect, and maybe they won't, but students' grades and progress toward meeting standards. And I don't know necessarily how that can be quantified, but just interested in seeing how this month will affect our students and their progress.
Yes, I am as well. Very interested in that. And one thing I would just mention in response to that is that given the challenges this year, we are actually doing some more interim assessments along the way, kind of drop in the bucket so that we can see more frequently how things are being impacted. And we're analyzing that along with staff. So we'll be doing another round of that and looking at that. And we do kind of cross it with that attendance as well. So time will tell what impact we see.
Okay. Mr. Leverrier?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Krause. I wanted to go back. With the synchronous, and what was the other thing? The other model that you referenced in the beginning of the presentation?
It's synchronous and asynchronous.
And can you go over that distinction one more time, please?
Certainly. Synchronous really means, like if you think of synchronous, all at the same time. So it really means that the children are all learning together, so that even when we have online learning, if the class is all together learning, that's called synchronous. Asynchronous means that you could be doing it at your own time. So if you think about online courses, even at the college level, if they're given to you and you can go off and complete the work on your own, independently of when the other class, the members of the class are doing it, that's called asynchronous.
And my second question, thank you, is the distinction as to the what's appropriate for the particular student is case by case, right?
Yes, it could be. And they also consider the content of the lesson. So you can imagine some lessons don't lend themselves well to having some kids online, some kids not. Other lessons, it's very easy to just turn the camera on and kind of do that all together. Some of that is dependent on the content of the specific lesson. Some of it is the subject matter, what you teach, of how that can happen. And particularly what I've seen, and a lot of my work is at the elementary level, is that we've seen some students who have a hard time attending online, particularly when the rest of the class is not online and the teacher's managing both. And so for those kids, it might be more appropriate for them to be joining the temporary remote tutor where they can get that face-to-face time more so than what they can when they're just joining the class virtually. So all of those factors are kind of taken into consideration.
So is it more of a holistic approach, or is this like a unilateral decision by the particular teacher?
I'm not sure what you mean by holistic approach.
Well, like you were saying that there was multiple factors, but like, is this something that's decided by the student's teacher and that's it? That's the call?
The student's teacher would make the decision. I don't know if you mean that, would it change? It might. I mean, we've seen that. I can tell you, I've seen it firsthand where I've seen kids on the call right then and it's not working out so well and the teacher will make a change based on what they're seeing. And I've also seen it change day to day. They might say, day one, I'm going to have these students join. And if it doesn't work out the day two, they might do something different. So in that sense, we're kind of, as so many things with this, you're kind of learning as you go and figuring out what works best.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And Ms. Parati?
I think you're muted, Ms. Parati.
I think she froze up.
She's not muted. You're right. She is frozen.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm good now. Am I frozen?
You are.
Can
you hear me? All right. Come back to me.
Okay, we'll come back to you then. Ms. Yop?
Hi, this is my question to Dr. Brummett. I have a question. You said that the state, and just quote me if I'm wrong, gave 1,400 test kits. Is that what you had said? And that
they gave it. Oh, go ahead.
No, finish. I apologize.
We had received 1,400 test kits for our students and then another 400 test kits for our staff. So essentially just shy of 50%. My understanding is I'll get a second shipment later this week, though, haven't gotten anything definitive. We've also decided to order some more. We found a vendor that was selling them at a pretty good price with FDA approval. So they are coming our way in about a week. I will, just to be clear, we don't administer the COVID tests. The kits are given either to a staff member or to a parent, and they administer the test themselves. We don't have the proper certification to do the testing ourselves.
How many additional kits were purchased?
We purchased, it was the equivalent of about $15,000. I would have to go back to the purchase order. I believe, I don't want to hazard a guess. Let me get that exact number for you. Lou, if you're on the line and can pull up that purchase order, great. Otherwise, I will get that answer to the board tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'll look it up right now.
Thank
Okay.
you. All righty.
Okay. And there you go. I don't see any other hands raised at this time. I don't know if we've lost our other board member.
I believe Mr. Jekyll wants to
Can you hear me now?
Speak.
I can hear you now. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I turned my video off, so hopefully this works. So I just wanted to thank you, Dr. Brummett, for the update. I had mentioned before my daughter was on temporary remote, and the experience was good. She had the two tutors, the math and the reading, and they were very good with her. So I'm glad to hear that's being expanded to the middle level or the upper levels. just a question. Do you have any idea? I know it changes drastically, but on average, how many students are on remote, especially now that the quarantine period is shorter and there's other reasons they can stay in school?
That's a great question. I thought someone's going to ask that tonight. I get some of the lists from schools. I believe on any given day, there's at least 20 students per middle school that are on temporary remote. At the elementary, it really does vary quite a bit, as it does at the high school, from day to day. And it is shorter now, but that still means that someone might come off of quarantine, another student hops on. So I would hazard a guess that on any given day, we have district-wide well over 100 kids on quarantine. I don't know that we mentioned it earlier, but if an entire elementary class is quarantined, which may be less likely under the new protocols, then that entire class gets the synchronous instruction, because the teacher then is teaching to the entire class remotely, which is a lot more doable than when only a handful of children are remote. And I will also give a plug to our curriculum department. I sit on the CAP Teaching and Learning Committee meeting, which we had a meeting earlier this week. And when we were all talking about our remote programs, I felt like Newington had one of the more robust programs that of all the districts that shared out, and it was probably 15 districts, ranging from Canton to Avon to Shoreline districts. So I do know, and we continue to try to make it better as time goes along, and especially as more students are on remote. So, I believe we're doing a really top-notch job, but I will say that the number of kids on remote does vary greatly, but I'd say right now probably an average of 100 a day.
Okay. And Ms. Weaver?
Yeah, just a follow up on that. I guess a question. I know I have many friends who are teachers and they absolutely abhor hybrid, just in terms of being able to connect with all the students. I think they definitely feel that it's definitely harder to connect with those on remote versus those in the classroom. And there's so many difficulties when trying to make that assumption. My question though is about teachers who have to quarantine. I know we're probably seeing less of that, just given the spread is likely greater in the elementary schools, and that's how your COVID reports have shown that in our district, a big jump in the elementary and not as much in the staff. But just if you could shed a little light on how we handle the teacher quarantine.
Well, I'll start. If we need more detail, Mr. Freese, he's our expert. But the teachers, if they have to quarantine and they're well enough to teach, we sometimes have them still work from home. They'll log in, support the class in some way, shape, or form. If they're not well enough to teach, then they would take a sick day and stay out that way. So we see a wide range. As you mentioned earlier, teachers are still getting COVID these days, though they're not getting super sick with it. So we are, if they're willing to and able to, we do still like to offer them that opportunity so that we can still support the kids. I don't know if you want to add anything, Mr. Farisi.
No, that's exactly it. We do take it on a case-by-case basis, pending people's wellness, as well as what position they're in. Oftentimes, it is beneficial for us, even if we do have a substitute in that classroom, while the staff member is out, for them to be either supporting virtually up on the smartboard, as you know, and be able to help support teaching, but also in the planning process. So that way the plans continue to move forward, and then the substitute might be the one who's implementing those plans or supporting students in the classroom. So we've managed it a number of ways. Similarly, if it's a related service, and that person can still attend the scheduled PPT meetings and virtually work with students for maybe some social emotional wellness. We always just really look at it on a case-by-case basis, see what the caseload looks like, what the staff member's wellness is, and then manage it that way. So there is no like one cut and dry answer for every staff member. We just, we work with it. But we are seeing a reduction in the amount of staff members that are out, which is nice.
Okay, great. Yeah, I guess that was my follow-up.
Especially,
yeah. My follow-up was really, how are we doing on sub shortage or that? Because I think that's something that you hear a lot in the line, and
Yeah, well, I won't. I won't suggest that we're doing great in regards to the sub shortage. It's a national, another pandemic, epidemic, but it's a problem. But we are doing well. We're still hovering in the upper 88% rate for filling externally, and then we fill the remainder with internal, either paraeducators or learning tutors. So that's a higher fill rate than any company we would be contracting out with that could fill our substitute needs. So we're actually doing very well, just as well as we would during non-pandemic times right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Hutwagner.
Thank you. Just a follow-up. If a teacher is then able to instruct from home or provide some type of teaching from home, that day is then not taken out of their sick time, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yes, it is. Mr. Fletcher, just to circle back to Dr. Fletcher, Ms. Yop's question, we have ordered an additional 1,300 COVID tests. We got them for $11.49 a piece, so we're getting a very good price. I had my accounts payable department follow up on the order today, and we should get it within the week. So I consider that having those handy a good mitigation strategy, because if people are just having allergies or a mild cold, this can kind of get them back in quicker. And again, once they're more readily available in the community, we probably won't need to provide them. But for now, when it's such a challenge, we're glad to have them. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Yop, you have another question.
I do. I was going to ask, well, right now, like you were saying, they aren't readily available. So with the state only giving you the 1,400 and then the 4 for the staff, the question I have is, I mean, is this something that we might have to get next month if it continues the way it's continuing? I mean, I know even personally, it was hard for me to find a test for my child who had to stay out, who has allergies. So is this something that we may have to get next month just so we can ensure that students aren't, staying home for allergies? I mean, because it does affect them.
Agreed. Ms. Yop, you're bringing up a classic example of why having a test handy, and it happened today. I'll be very frank. I had a parent reach out, and they were given a test so that if the child is negative, and they can come back in. Yes, we'll monitor our supply of testing, and if it looks like the need is still there, we will continue to order more, provided they're available. I know some companies don't have them available, and we also have a partnership with Go Health on Fenn Road, and we have preferential appointments there for both our students and staff. And we've been giving all that contact information out to our families so they can, if all else fails, try to get an appointment there. So we're trying to keep as many options open as possible so that to reduce the amount of time that people miss school. Thank you.
And one more question. If staff need access to this, are we allowing them to take one or is it just students? Because, I mean, we essentially need the teacher there.
Absolutely. We are allowing both staff and student access. So we ask the staff member or the parent, do you have access to a test? If they say no, we hand the test to the staff member or the child, depending on the scenario. And as I mentioned earlier, they give the test at home, and then they send us a picture of the result with a name and date on the result.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Leverrier, you have a question?
Yes. So with the hopeful fall of the Omicron variant, assuming that stats follow like Botswana and South Africa, where it started going off a cliff, what are we going to be doing for keeping a supply in the, God forbid, event of a subsequent variant? What are we going to be keeping on supply moving forward?
I'll be working with my nurse supervisor, Mercy Hetherington, to determine what we continue to need for any of the COVID mitigation supplies, masks, cleaning supplies. So yeah, we're told that Omicron is starting to taper off, and hopefully that'll hit Newington soon. And then we'll have to see what the future brings. But I think at this point, we'll try to keep testing on hand for the foreseeable future, because it really will help us to get people back faster.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. Looks like we have no more questions. So at this time, we are going to move on, and we will go to line item E2, our update from the Broadcast Media Club at Newington High School. Mr. McGoldrick.
Welcome to Mr. McGoldrick and
How
Mr.
are you?
Trowbridge.
Thanks for having us.
Very good. Mr. McGoldrick's going to provide a brief update about the work of his class. I believe we have some students on the line tonight, and then Mr. Trowbridge is our content media specialist, and he's the reason why we have such wonderful broadcasting of our sporting events, among other things. Go ahead, Mr. McGoldrick.
Very good. Very quickly, yeah, we're doing both the media and the journalism class, and I'm really very pleased with how that's going, and we are uniting those classes in a kind of maybe a mini academy type thing in the long run. That's our intent. We're calling it a pathway, and we're hoping to see this grow. So and then I have to say, Jacob is he's really the guy who does a lot of the day-to-day stuff with the broadcast, and he's really the most important person for tonight. But I did want to be here to support him and to say thank you. I'm very pleased to see how the program is progressing, and to say hello. And I'm going to let Jacob take over.
All right, thank you, Frank. I definitely appreciate those words. So yeah, in terms of broadcasting and sports and all the live streaming we've been doing, we started streaming back in September. The channel was created back in September. Right now, we're floating at almost 270 subscribers. The Broadcasting Club kids have managed in that time to stream 42 sports events. We've also done some concerts. We have a church group that comes in on Sunday. They've actually utilized some of the kids in helping make their live streams a success. So it's been great. I'm going to actually keep my remarks short because I kind of want to let the kids talk about this and their experiences in the program and what they've gained, because they're kind of the unsung heroes making these events happen. So guys, if you want to talk, feel free to chime in, and make sure you introduce yourselves too.
Okay, well, I guess I'll start. Can you mute, Jacob? Thank you. So, I'm Lily. I'm currently sitting in the TV studio because I just finished filming wrestling, which was one of our sports tonight. But honestly, this program has been such a great opportunity for me, especially with COVID, being able to still go see those sporting events and not only be able to see my friends participate, but also kind of learn more about that technology aspect, which I feel will really help me in all aspects of my life, because I personally want to go into a backstage-based college and career. So this is kind of just another step to add to my resume, and I feel like it's really helping me out. And I'm just really proud of all of the people that I've worked with and how much we've learned.
No. Anybody else want to speak?
I guess I'll go next. My name is Valeria Bolanos. I am a sophomore at Newington High School, and I joined the broadcasting crew this past year. And broadcasting has been something that I never regretted doing. It is something that I appreciate a lot being on this team, because it's taught me a lot about technology and filming, and not only that, but sound and AV in general. It's been really fun, especially going into something like STEM or technology. It's really impactful on the way that I can view the different parts of STEM. And it's really nice to walk through the halls and watch kids stop and look at the at the TV screens and be like, oh, wow, this looks really professional. And being like, oh, yeah, we filmed that. Or like, oh, yeah, that was something that our team did. And just like even going to like games and being from like an athletic standpoint of someone who's like on a sports team and being like, hey, my coaches talk about the streams and they're like, oh, wow, we can watch these back and it'll really help us be able to watch our playbacks, improve our games, and all of that. And it's really going to help like teams grow and like really expand the horizons of how we learn. And it's especially good because I don't have to sit in a cold bird box and film from an iPad anymore.
Yeah, I'd like to, I would love to add on to Val. I think this, being a part of broadcasting crew is really an amazing opportunity for someone like me who is an athlete, who always gets to stay connected with teammates in other sports as well, because I know the feeling of someone who can't exactly make it to the game, so they have the opportunity to watch it online, and it's really helpful to watch it back, and it's because it's amazing quality and it's really easy just to have access to. It's really easy for the teams to play back and see how they went through their plays and everything. And I recently talked to the head of the athletic department, and I now have the opportunity to also take photos for the team, which I'm so excited to do because I know how much the students love being on their team. So it just gives them an extra push and have some nice photos come out of it.
I'm Livy.
Genuinely,
My bad, just me. Sorry. I'm Livy. I've been involved with broadcasting since I think the beginning, if I can remember. And I've been involved with stage crew ever since 5th grade, and it's amazing to have this opportunity to be more involved in something like just to expand my love for what I do backstage and my knowledge on it. And it's great to become more involved in my school because you get the occasional comments here and there of, oh, you're the camera girl, but it's genuinely really amazing to be able to, see our recognition from other students in the hallways and to actually get more involved in sporting events because I'm going to be perfectly honest, most of these sporting events I generally wouldn't attend and I would never think of attending. And now that I'm going to them as a broadcasting member, I've developed this entirely new appreciation for the sports at our school. And it's overall just been a great opportunity to work with my peers that I work with in stage crew and get to know them better and collaborate more because Jacob really does let us do most of the stuff ourselves. He's there to guide us, but it's a lot of our work, and it's really great to be allowed to figure stuff out on our own and learn as we go.
Also, I noticed I didn't introduce myself beforehand. So I'm Mena. I'm a senior. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jessica Drost, and I genuinely kind of got thrown into broadcasting. So a lot of the people that do broadcasting are also in marching band, but I'm not. So I randomly got a text from Jacob one day. It was an all call of hi, we need people. And I joined, and I honestly I absolutely loved it. I had the time of my life. I remember the first football game that I went to go broadcast vividly, and I'm so thankful for everyone that I've worked with. I get to work with amazing students and amazing staff, and I love seeing how thankful people are to even get their stuff shown. Even students thanking me in the hallway hey, I saw you at the game last night. Thanks for what you do. I really appreciate it, and I just enjoy also kind of getting to put my name to a piece of work. At the end of the day, I can be I did this and I did this myself, or I did this with 2 of my best friends or something crazy like that. It's so nice to just be able to work with amazing people and produce amazing videos and broadcasts and amazing broadcasts that everyone's allowed to enjoy.
I am Kira. I'm a sophomore, and like all of the other people before me have said, they're honestly all amazing, and I love all of the people I work with. Basically, broadcasting is just an opportunity for me to do something I love while also being able to do it with some of the people I am closest with and that make me feel happy. And so I really have to thank all of my fellow broadcasting club members because they do make this experience a lot better. And yeah, I would love doing it even without them, but 10 times better with them.
Are there any other students that want to participate this evening? And thanks to Jacob for showing those clips. That's just really exciting.
You're welcome.
Dr. Brumman, can I add just some final comments?
Please.
Yeah, I back in 2015 when I came into this role, we knew we had a start of a strong program at the middle schools with video production. And we just had an empty void at the high school, and we didn't have any resources or any programs going on. And with over the last 6 years, despite the pandemic, we were able to build the TV studio eventually. And with Frank's help, we were able to construct a course. And with Jacob's help now, we have this broadcast and media club that has done amazing productions. The pandemic has brought many, many challenges to us. But I think we took this as an opportunity. And if you see the great work, and I want to really deeply thank these students and all their diligence and their hard work, it's just a tremendous, tremendous program and a great reflection on Newington Public Schools. So thank you to all.
Thank you, Mr. Salerno. I couldn't agree more. I love hearing from our students and the work they're doing. And with the pandemic, there's been these silver linings to, doing all this live streaming was a direct result of the pandemic because it also applies to concerts, plays, so you can be there even if you can't be there. So any other comments, Mr. McGoldrick or your team?
Yeah, I just have one more, Jacob. Thank you. So just a little shameless plug for us. If you aren't following our YouTube channel, it would be really helpful if you could, because the more subscribers we have, kind of the more motivated we are to do this, and just knowing that we have your guys' support. So I highly recommend subscribing to our YouTube channel if you haven't already.
I think I just want to be the last one to wrap things up here, unless anybody else wants to talk. But I just want to quickly mention also on motivation, the community and administrators and just everyone as a whole really supporting us since the beginning of this has been a huge motivational factor. So I just want to quickly say thank you to everyone who has supported us along this journey and helped us get where we are right now. And it's just been incredible to see all the support from everyone. So thank you.
Wonderful. And Mr. Salerno just put the YouTube channel link in the chat feature if you are so inclined to join. I'll turn it back over to you, Dr. Fletcher, to entertain any questions.
Okay, and we have a couple people already. Mr. Leverrier.
Go Nor'easters. I just want to say that we have a very strong presence with the young ladies in the group here. Great job. Okay. I want to give a shout out to Ms. Jordan and to Ms. Goss, saying that you had an opportunity to do something you loved, and that it's a stepping stone for potential potential next path. Keep working at it. Okay, keep going. You do have a great opportunity here, and I wish you nothing but the best. To Ms. Majub, students telling you give them the extra push. Thanks for having the school spirit. It's very much appreciated from everybody here in Newington. And to Ms. Droz, I'm glad that you had the time of your life doing this. And Ms. Jordan as well. Solid plug on the YouTube channel. Thanks.
All right, and Mother Drozd. You're mute.
I am going to speak as a mom, but actually as a board member. So we think about high school and we think about sports and how to get involved. And I have to say that this program, Jacob, we speak about you often in this home in good regards. You have built a group of young individuals who have this leadership quality and have pride in what they do. And so often we don't take into account that there's things out there more than sports. So I just want to say thank you to you and to Mr. McGoldrick for doing this. It's phenomenal. only positive feedback from all of the young people who have shared and talked to me about it. So thank you. Keep it going. Whatever I can do to support you would be awesome.
Thank you.
And Miss Weaver.
I've been so excited for this for so long. First of all, hi, Mr. McGee.
Boy, you
Yeah,
do.
it's it's good to see everyone. For me, this has been something I've wondered about for a very long time because going to MKMS, we had WKMS and we had the most jammin' intro. It was the coolest videos. And then when I got to the high school, I was the one giving morning announcements and no one knew I was getting morning announcements. And I was that diva that was like, it's me. Good morning, students, faculty, staff, and guests of Newington High School. And it was one of those things where I always thought, why did we have video in middle school and then there was no follow through in the high school? And I think a lot of that discussion started coming up with a lot of the academies, and kudos to a lot of the past boards for doing that and really identifying the points where we wanted to make sure it was a through path, particularly with, we talk a lot about the biomedical and the aerospace academies and getting more engineering, but there's so much good happening already at the middle schools with broadcasting. And I think this was really a key piece to make sure there is that follow through and a more seamless transition. And I just can tell you from what I've seen already, thank you all to every student that came on tonight. And it's always nerve-wracking sometimes to speak in front of people, but you do it with such grace. And I want to congratulate you all on all your efforts, because I know you're putting in extra hours after school to do this because of when the games or matches or whatever are. And I've seen some Newington High School news, so it's like it literally is, my heart's beaming. Mr. Salerno came in much too late. I graduated in 2015 and I'm like, where were you when I needed to? But to really, I say that because look at how much has happened in the last 7 years, how much we've been able to accomplish. So that really is kudos to all of the staff there as well. And to the students, I'm just so excited to see where you go. My partner went to Hofstra and I was constantly at a lot of productions of different, late night shows, or they did sketch comedy, or they did news reports, and they did a lot of sports marketing, and that's where they held the presidential election. And always be like, how do these kids know so much? And it's all student run productions. And I'm already seeing what they were doing at the college level already here at NHS. And I can't tell you how exciting that is, because not only are you setting yourself up for success now, but you're already leaps and bounds ahead of where everyone is at college. And I can tell you, like, my boyfriend now works at Sesame Street, and I can tell you, like, those are where you're already at. Like, that is the level you're at. And I can say that with great confidence. I've seen it happen. And so it's such a great thing to see from staff, faculty, our administration pushing this, our boards, past boards approving this, and then ultimately our students really fulfilling what we're looking at. And sorry for long, but I'm so excited to see this happen, and so excited that all of you students have taken this up, not only with confidence, but also with love. And I'm just really happy. Anything we can do to continue to make this grow. We want entertainment news, we want anything else. I see this just as the beginning and the floor, not the ceiling. So I'm so excited to see where this goes. So thank you all for coming out and telling us about this.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Vendetti.
There's the mic. I'd like to say, as a junior board of ed rep, thank you very much to Broadcasting Club from the bottom of my heart. You guys do a lot. As one of those students who also does morning announcements, I just like to say thank you for making me look so good at 9 in the morning. I don't know how you do that, but you do. Also, as a member of the Performing Arts Department, I want to just say thank you so much. The program wouldn't be alive without you guys. Literally, the musical had to be broadcasted last year, so seriously, it wouldn't have been a thing without you. I just want to say that you guys, you don't get enough credit because you're always behind the camera, but know that we love you. The school would not, the entire school system would not function without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sharma.
Hey guys, well, I want to quickly thank Jacob, Frank, and all the students. Thank you for doing this, and I'm gonna actually subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I love watching basketball, so thanks for doing this. And and let's be more creative, and let's think about what else we could do on that channel. But it's a good initiative, really inspiring. Thanks for doing that.
Ms. Weaver, did you have another question? Your hand is up.
I just want to say lastly too, like, I can't also say thank you enough on behalf of every grandparent and parent that can't make it out to any of these. You have now opened up a whole new world. And specifically, my sister's graduation was live streamed. And that was something that, we couldn't have anyone in person. And my grandparents were able to watch that from miles away. And we had continuing comments about that, like, oh, I can't have relatives come from California, COVID existing or not. This is something that literally opens up the world to NHS. So we will get your subscriber count up. Also, every grandparent is literally thanking you.
All right, thank you. And all I'm going to say is we've come a long ways from 8mm splicing.
Yes, I've done that in the past. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, absolutely. All right.
Dr. Fletcher, what are you talking about? What does that mean?
Oh my
I'll
goodness.
explain it to
I
you
was going to
later.
ask the same thing.
It means I'm old. Okay, we don't have any more questions, so I want to say thank you very much to the media team. I'm going to try to get some time to go and see all of this stuff in person because I do broadcasting every week. I do about 12 hours myself, so I got to get in and see what you guys are doing.
We would appreciate that. Yeah, definitely.
All right. So thank you all once again.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay. Board members, we are now going to move on to item E3. This is discussion and possible action for the Newington High School date change for parent-teacher conferences. And Dr. Brummett, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. I'm going to use the agenda and post, and we're looking at, first off, item number 3. This hopefully will be fairly straightforward. Each year we have to wait to hear from the state about when the mandatory school day SAT is given. It's one of the sources of data for the State Department of Education. So Ms. Tigno notified me a bit ago that the SAT for school day had been scheduled, and as a result, she wanted to, for March 24th, she wanted to then change parent-teacher conferences to align with that. Currently, they are on the calendars March 16th and 17th. She wants to go with March 23rd and 24th, again, to minimize students' time away from the classroom and to align with the school day SAT. So that is really the request. It doesn't change the end date of our calendar at all, and this is only for the high school. So I will turn it back to you, Dr. Fletcher.
Okay. So what we can do at this time, we can entertain a motion and then bring it to the table for discussion.
I can read the motion, Dr. Fletcher.
Okay, go ahead.
Move the Newington Board of Education change the dates of the high school parent-teacher conferences from March 16th and 17th, 2022 to March 23rd, day conferences, and March 24th, evening conferences, 2022.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second has been made. Any discussion? All right. Seeing that there are no questions or discussion, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Michael Branda,
Yes.
Danielle Drozd,
Yes.
Dr. Bruce Fletcher,
Yes.
Beth Mankey Hut-Wagner,
Yes.
Richard LaVerriere,
Yes.
Amy Parati,
Yes.
Sam Sharma,
Yes.
Jessica Weaver,
Yes.
Anastasia Yap.
Yes.
The motion passed unanimously.
Okay, very good. Thank you all very much. We will now move on to item number 4 for discussion, the 2022-2023 school calendar holidays. Dr. Brummett.
Thank you. This is a follow-up item. The board has been discussing the possible inclusion of different holidays within our school calendar. You may recall last year we had a student speak about a holiday called Al-Fitr, and then we also had recently, earlier in this school year, a local clergy speak about Diwali. So this is our current calendar. Oops, excuse me, wrong. I think I clicked on the wrong item. School holidays. let me see here. This was supposed to be a link to the memo. Hopefully these didn't get juggled up, but we'll see where this takes us. This is giving me the wrong information. All right. This was supposed to be, maybe this is what I'm looking for. That is what I'm looking for. Okay, so we had, again, as I mentioned earlier, talked about potentially including other holidays on our school calendar. Just a quick overview, there is a board policy that indicates the board is responsible for setting the school calendar and determining all holidays within the school calendar. Board members have asked, well, how do we make that decision? There really is no protocol for that other than collecting information and making a determination whether that is what people feel they want to do. The two holidays that are under consideration are Diwali, as I mentioned, and that would be held on October 24th of 2022. As it turns out, the Muslim holiday, Eid al-Fitr, is currently going to fall on a Saturday. So that is something that won't impact the school calendar. But I wanted to share with the board some of the information the board asked me to share was, what are other districts doing in this regard? So as you look at this year's calendar and next, you can see that the only district in the state of Connecticut that we could find that celebrates Diwali is South Windsor. And I have talked with the superintendent there, Dr. Kate Carter, and she does indicate that there are, a very strong Hindu population in her district, so that is why they adopted it. I will bring to the board's attention that this year, al-Fitr falls on a Tuesday, so there are no school districts in our area that are celebrating it this year or as a school holiday. And next year it falls on a Saturday, so it really is a moot point at this point in time. We did decide to analyze all religious holidays just for the sake of, looking at it holistically. You can see there is a mixture of districts that celebrate Jewish holidays, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Newington has honored those holidays for as long as I can remember. And indeed, they will be, currently they exist on the school calendar as holidays for our district. And then last but not least, Good Friday. And as you can see, that's a Christian holiday. There are, all the districts in our area do honor that as a school holiday for this school year. And next year, those folks who have published calendars are also honoring it next year. So in terms of the holidays, these are things that the board can consider. I believe in our last meeting, we were asked, how many children do we see missing school on these particular holidays? And for al-Fitr, I believe we did an analysis on the one that was held last year, and I believe there were about 40 kids, slightly higher absence rate on that day. And similarly, we saw a similar absenteeism rate for the Diwali holiday. Some children do not want to miss school, so they come to school on that holiday. Others do just take the day off, and obviously they don't have any penalties and they're allowed to miss the work. So I will turn it back over to Dr. Fletcher for any questions.
Okay, let's begin with Ms. Drozd.
Right, so I'm all for making every child feel included, so I think this is great. I know we're saying that Eid is not affecting this year, but if we look at this, we need to take into account that in future years, Eid does not always fall on Saturdays. So I think we need to add that into our school year. But I also have a question, and it kind of stemmed from a committee meeting where you had said there's 600 students that come to us from Hartford, and Hartford has 3 Kings Day off. And I'd also be curious what our percentage of population is that our Hispanic population, which is a very big in their culture. I don't want to exclude. I don't want to say, that the Muslim and the Hindu and the Jewish and the Christian holidays are important, which I know that as a Christian, I do know that Three Kings Day is a Christian holiday, but I do want to make sure that we are representing all of our students. And I'm pretty sure the population that celebrates, the Hispanic population, and especially that Hartford population, being that they already have that day off, I would want to look at that as a holiday as well, which I know sounds crazy that I'm looking to add a holiday, but I want to make sure that all students feel like they're represented.
Okay, Mr. Leverrier.
Yes. So with respect to the Diwali, I'm looking. I'm not well versed in Hindu holidays, but I'm looking at it as it's indicating that it's a 5-day holiday, and I just want to make sure. What happens? We get 4 years down the road, and it becomes, hey, let's take a week off here in October, and making it a week off thing. And what's the significance of the particular day that was chosen as to that? I would like to make a comment as to Ms. Dro's statements. Dr. Fletcher, am I okay to just give a counter comment maybe?
Go ahead.
With respect to Three Kings Day, I mean, it's more my observation of what the intent here, this is just me, the intent is to be religiously inclusive, not necessarily culturally inclusive. Three Kings Day is certainly observed amongst the Puerto Rican community, but Three Kings Day is a Christian holiday. It's not a Puerto Rican holiday, and I want to make sure that that is something that's considered. That Good Friday, Christmas are already days off with regard to that. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, and Ms. Weaver.
I think actually Vidisha can speak. I'm not sure if Mr. Leverrier was here for the presentation we had about Diwali, where they talked about the last day being the culmination of the Festival of Lights. But I think Vidisha had spoken about that. So if it's okay with Mr. Fletcher, Dr. Fletcher, can I defer to Vidisha first, just to
Yes, you
explain
can
that?
give a brief explanation. Absolutely.
Thank you, Jessica. I know a lot of the other board members were here, so I'll keep it brief. But basically, for the other 4 days leading up to it, I'm trying to think of like an equivalent of example, but the 5th day is considered like the new year. So the other 4 days are kind of just like smaller events leading up to it, like an eve, if you would consider it. And typically those are celebrated in the evening anyways. So not necessary that there be a day off, which is what we had discussed when the presentation was made. It's just that on the New Year's morning, most people like to go to the temple, go to friends and family's house to like celebrate and wish each other, which usually interferes with school. And as I said, every year I tend to either come in late or not come in at all because I celebrate it with my family.
Okay, thank you. Very good explanation. Ms. Yap?
I just had a couple questions. If children, I don't know how it was in the past, if they didn't come in, like she said she didn't, is that counted as an absence or?
It would be an excused absence. It's not held against the student, and they are allowed to make up all the work. In fact, we do have at the high school a calendar that goes out to teachers alerting them to other holidays such as this, and they're encouraged not to schedule high leverage tests on those days. Doesn't always work out perfectly, but in any event, the student would have every opportunity to make up any missed work.
Thank you. I have one more question. And Dr. Fletcher, I kind of want to address Danielle's Three Kings Day. I do agree. I do have a Hispanic child. My son is half Puerto Rican, and they do celebrate Three Kings Day. So that is something that's important. And I also would like to see that on the calendar, just because there is a huge population that comes over to Newington. But I also, do agree with, the other holidays being added, especially if, like Dr. Brummett was saying, that, they're able to make up work. I mean, we do want to be culturally inclusive. Newington is becoming more diverse, and I think it's a great thing, what we're trying to do. That's all.
All right, thank you very much. And Mr. Branda.
Thanks, Dr. Fletcher. I'm not sure. My video has been a little wonky, so if I go out, I'm sorry. Really quick, I'm going to send all the board members the presentation that we got. I had a copy of it from Mr. Desai, who presented it. It was mid-October, so I'm sure we can dig up that meeting too, because I think it would be really valuable to our new board members to watch that presentation and to see it. And I just want to thank Danielle, because honestly, like in all these discussions, I didn't even think of Three Kings Day. And it's valid, because not only obviously is it important to many people's families, but we have a large amount of students who are coming into Hartford from Hartford that, obviously it's a part of their city and a part of, their families are off that day, and then they're getting off to school, or they're probably not going to school. So it is worth looking into. I would be curious what the numbers are on attendance for Three Kings Day also, if we could get that data. But I'll send the presentation off to everybody. And I do know, in talking to Mr. Desai, he had said that he would come back to another meeting if necessary. He's always willing to talk. I know we've had more discussions about Diwali than Eid or anything else, but it's worthwhile if anybody does listen or knows other people who want to come and speak about the importance of these holidays and advocate for it. I think it would be really useful.
Thank you very much. I'm going to interject right here real quick, because I have two quick questions. You're not going to be able to answer them tonight, but these would be something we can work on. So can we get an idea of how it's going to affect the end date of the school year? And are there going to be any ramifications with the teachers union? Those are two questions that I have.
I can look into both of those. Obviously, each day that we take as a school holiday adds to the end of the school year. And I will look into any contractual ramifications of that. And I believe I also heard someone wants to hear about our absenteeism rates on Three Kings Day. Just to be clear, we have about 110 students coming in from Hartford, but in Newington as well, we have a substantially an ongoing increasing Hispanic population. So it's not strictly folks coming in from Hartford. We do have that population as well within our community. Thank you, Dr. Fletcher.
All right, thank you.
That's right.
All right. Ms. Weaver.
Sorry, I didn't want actually, Dr. Fletcher, you just took my question. I'm actually really elated to hear this conversation, and I thank Ms. Droz for bringing those up. I know East Hartford has had Three Kings Day off for reference, but I think it's important that we also look at, how much, and I know this is probably our next line item too, about moving back when school starts and then when it doesn't. I looked at when it started earlier. As it stands right now, we get out June 6th. I remember getting out on like June 15th was my graduation date. So I and then again, it's dependent on snow days and all those other things, and whether we'll have good years or bad years with climate, but with weather. But I think one of the things I just wanted to raise was as we look at these holidays, I think it's great that we have this, but is there any way, I don't know, to get community input on this? One of those things is we have a wonderful student right here with Vidisha being able to speak to that, and we've had other students speak to it, but I would love to, I'm not sure if there's like a way we could get a survey out or something like that, like how the community would feel, just a temperature test on like how everyone feels about that, because I think here we all seem to be in agreement of some sort that, we want to be able to recognize these holidays, and I think you can clearly see the discrepancy. But the other note I wanted to make is that Mr. Desai pointed this out as well, that Governor Lamont made, or at least marks, Diwali as a state holiday now, not something as that state workers get off or anything, but it's something that he's recognized. I believe he shared something on social media about it being recognized now in the state of Connecticut as a day. So keeping that in mind, I'm not sure it's the same for, I don't know with Eid. I think just as we consider these options too, looking at other towns is helpful, and it seems like there is a little bit of discrepancy between the towns, but if there's any way to get how our town feels about it, or how our student population who will be affected by it feels about it. I think that's always just a good marker to see. That's how we make, as board members, make informed decisions, seeing how everybody else feels. So I obviously want to be able to respect those wishes as well, if that's possible.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Drozd?
Dr. Fletcher, I would like to ask Dr. Brummett something, and I want to just clarify something that Mr. LaViere said. Is that okay?
Please go ahead.
All right. So first question. Dr. Brummett, I'm confused about the 110 number because and maybe Mr. Sharma can help me with this. I swear I had written down 600 students from Hartford are coming into our district from our last meeting. So see, I'm saying, yeah. So I just want to, like, if it's 110, it doesn't change my opinion. I still think we need to respect that. So.
If I recall, Danielle, it was 600 students, and we get paid 6,000 a year, right? So it was 600,000 in revenue.
Yeah.
So I just go ahead.
I apologize if I misspoke. It's certainly
okay.
not 600. It's 100. Mr. Farisi, I don't know if you have the current total in front of you. It's about 110.
The reason why I was like so passionate about like Three Kings Days, I'm like, we have 600 students who are coming from Hartford and who have this like holiday off, and their siblings have it off and we don't. So that does, but I still think it's important. And so Mr. LaViere, it's not about, I know I said it was culture, right? But it is different aspects of Christianity hold different holidays in different regard. And Three Kings Day is very important in the Hispanic culture as far as their holiday. And I know that from teaching for so long. So I just want to make sure that we are not excluding. And I think we should include all of them. Dude, I'd love a good day off as a teacher. Give me a day off in the middle. I'm good with that. Even if I have to go to school till June 25th. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, Ms. Hutwagner.
Thank you. I was actually going to make that same point, Mr. Rose, so thank you so much for pointing that out. Even though 100 students doesn't seem like a lot, I think there's a large population right here in our town that reside in Newington that do celebrate the Three Kings Day holiday more than we think. And then I just wanted to say to Ms. Weaver, great point about getting that student feedback. And I think that really, even though I'm looking, kind of at the list here, that other than South Windsor, we may be the only district kind of in our greater Hartford area here that's taking these steps. I think that puts us on the forefront. I think that we are trailblazers in so many ways, and this will continue to do that. It really proves that we are such an inclusive, culturally aware school system. So I think this is a great discussion dialogue tonight. And I think that these decisions are going to be so important for Newington schools.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Branda?
Thank you. Just really quick, piggybacking off of Ms. Weaver's point, I know that we survey parents at some point, and maybe while I would be interested to see what people's opinions are, and think maybe it might be more worthwhile to find out who celebrates what. If it's an anonymous survey, if they're just checking off a box that this holiday is important to me, that would allow us to kind of see what we're dealing with in terms of, who's impacted and who are we advocating for when we're doing this. I understand that might be a little tricky with possibly the Hartford population that comes in, but I think Ms. Stroh's point, I still definitely agree that should be considered. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Parati?
Thank you. So I definitely agree that we should be inclusive and we should give the holidays off. I think to Jessica's point, asking our community, but also making sure that our teachers have a say in the matter as far as how many days off. And I have a question. I wasn't sure whether to ask it now or with our next topic, but as far as I know, the required dates, number of school days, so we're talking about adding, extra holidays, the required number of days is 180, and our calendar has 181 at least this year. So I was just wondering the reasoning behind that. And if there's any other days we can, if we're, adding a holiday, if we can switch out for a different day off for some reason. So that was just something to consider.
Okay. I'll let Dr. Brummett answer that question. I have an answer because I used to set school schedules and I had my reasons for it, but I'll let her answer.
Well, the 181 days is something that I believe is contractual. Could Mr. Parisi chime in on that for me?
Yeah, so we have contractually we have 184.5 days. The 180 days are what's required by the state. We have 181 to meet all the instructional requirements that we feel appropriate in the Newington Public Schools.
Okay.
So we go one above what the state requires. So we don't have to, but we have been doing that. I don't know for how many years, but that I could also look into.
Quite a while. As far as that, Lou, you're the most senior member of the staff on the call, so maybe you know.
Yeah, we're 25 years, if not longer. It was mid-90s when they were able to bump up the calendar beyond the mandatory days.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And Mr. Sharma.
Hi, I mean it'll be wonderful to include like Diwali and Eid, but I think before we guys can like make a decision, I think it'll be wonderful, Maureen, if you can share like numbers on in terms of like how many families would celebrate Eid, how many Hindu families we got in town, how many Jewish families we got in town. We got 2 Jewish holidays right now, so maybe some numbers might help on maybe like a little survey, I mean, and then also like in case we do end up putting in Eid and Diwali, how is it going to affect our calendar in terms of like how many days off? I think that'll be helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Weaver.
Yeah, not to beat the horse, but I just think one of the things too, maybe if this survey could become something or not, I just think one of the things also just to consider is childcare. I know that's something of a hot topic this time, but I know particularly with the Jewish holidays currently, that's sometimes hard. They're usually within the month or two, and it's usually difficult sometimes to get it if you're not celebrating it or you don't have it enough yourself. I just think that sometimes that's a consideration we need to include perhaps and say, does this impact your childcare needs or what not? So just something to consider.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Drozd. We have lost.
Muted.
Still muted.
Ms. Drozd, you're still muted.
I want to agree with Jessica. I apologize for my computer. As a parent of, my children are on that far end. So sometimes I forget about daycare, but that's a valid point. And I would also be curious along those 181 and a half days, if there's something where one of those holidays could be like one of your like in-service days. Just so it's, alleviating it. So the students would go 180 and the teachers, because I know if you change that, they probably would have a little less pay and teachers don't like that. So, but yeah, the daycare is a definite thing we need to take into account. Thanks for bringing that up, Jess. And Mr. Branda, thank you for agreeing. That makes me so happy.
Just to clarify, it's 184.5 days for teachers, right, Mr. Parisi? 181 for the kids. And yes, it is feasible for us to have a religious holiday where teachers come in for in-service. So that is feasible. So I will turn it back over to you, Dr. Fletcher, for any other action on that.
Okay, so at this point, what we'll do is we will await answers to the questions that we've been given and get the research, and then we will bring it back in at another time, okay? All right.
Excellent.
So,
And
all right.
question was posed, do we use 181 days because of snow days? No, that's still, those are instructional days. So like we had 2 snow days last week, those days have to be made up. However, if we ever were to run into a crunch, then we could decide not to have 181 instructional days because we could meet the state requirements with 180. So that's something the board could decide down the road, but the snow days are built in it as add-on days at the end of the school year. Sorry, Dr. Fletcher, I was just responding to a chat question.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so now we are going to move on to the next agenda item, and that is the discussion of the 2022-2023 school calendar, first day of school. So Dr. Brummett, back to you.
Absolutely. So these are all sort of interrelated because I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, it has come up to my attention. I meet with teachers on a monthly basis through a teacher council, and it has come up before. So I want to show, we did a little research. Some teachers say that we start quite a bit earlier than where they reside. So they are struggling to provide coverage for their children, perhaps, or just the summer isn't lining up. So as you can imagine, no matter what you decide, we're not going to align with everyone else. Some folks may remember years ago, the CREC calendar became an issue where districts were encouraged to have identical calendars that aligned with the Hartford area. It recently came up in a discussion with my Hartford area superintendent's group, and as I have been aware, that was ruled out. It just, no one could agree to start all at the same time. So the correct calendar fell by the wayside. And you can see that these are all considered Hartford area group, districts for the most part. And you can see that everyone starts on a different day. And some folks don't have calendars posted yet, but you can see some districts start as early as August 24th. And others don't start until September 1st. These, by the way, are the first day of school for students. This does not reflect when teachers come back. Many districts front load, us included, several days of professional development that would happen prior to the first day. So we're still gathering this info, but you can see there is a wide range of days that folks start school. And it sounds like this might be important to include with our prior discussions, that if we're going to add school holidays, does that impact any decision making on the start of school? So that is really what this agenda item was designed to discuss, just so the board can see our school calendar as it currently was approved, and for frame of reference for board members that are new. The prior board approved this, and once my stream was adopted on April 21st of 2021. Currently, if nothing were to change, teachers come back. Of course, there's no numbers there, 25, 24, 23, the Monday, the 22nd, and students would start, that bright pink color is the first day of school for next year, if nothing were to change. So it's front loaded by 3 PD days for teachers and then a first day of school for students. So that's just frame of reference for our board. If there are no snow days, the projected last day of school would be the 6th of June at this time. And the board's already aware, or perhaps not our new board members, that there is a new state law that allows us to set the graduation date at the beginning of the school year. And that date can hold even if there are snow days. So currently, though we had 2 snow days last week, seniors are still eligible to graduate on June 7th, while the other kids still have to go to school till June 9th. And that's this year, just as a frame of reference. So that's the data that we've gathered, and I'm happy to turn it over to Dr. Fletcher for further discussion.
Okay, so we have some questions. Ms. Strohs?
Okay, first, I'm confused, and I probably wrote the number down wrong. So I have a question. I thought you said the teachers had 181.5 days. Obviously, I wrote it down wrong. How many days do teachers work?
184.5.
Thank you. I wrote it down, Ron. Awesome. All right. So my second thing is, so I was on the board when we originally changed this, like to this ridiculously early date. And I think I was the only board member who was like, are you kidding me? Teachers are going to be furious. And so you're cutting their summer, blah, 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 blah. So there was supposedly done a survey, and I don't know if there's any way, maybe like it was not you, Dr. Brumman, it was a predecessor of yours. Is there any way we can find that survey? Because supposedly the teachers, like, it was like 80% of them would rather have started early than started at like that normal date of the 31st. But that started when there was going to be a full week of school. So they like this idea of the full week of school before the Labor Day. And the reasoning behind it was, they said it was hotter in June, which it's not anymore. It's always really hot in September. In June, we're in parkas. So I'd be curious with that data, again, along with what Jessica Weaver said, like if the survey could go out, because this had been done before and the teachers said that this is what they wanted. And we want to keep our teachers happy.
Okay.
I can try to dig up that data. I'm not aware of it, but I'm sure it exists, and I'll work with Steve and Wendy to see where that data might exist.
Oh, thank you very much. Ms. Weaver?
Oh, well, exactly what Ms. Joe said. I guess I'm looking for, how many teachers is this impacting? And it looks like Labor Day is the 5th of the calendar year. So you could still do a week, I guess. I mean, quite honestly, it's more of how many teachers, they're the ones with the skin in the game, students as well. But we obviously want, if the teachers can't have childcare or anything like that, if that's the primary reason, obviously want to make sure that we're aware of that, but also respecting that. So I guess, yeah, if there's any way we can, like, how many teachers this impacts, because I'm not sure how many, districts we're working with here, and that's a hard one. I think that it's very random, clearly with how it's done. So I think no matter what, we can't please everyone, but yeah, if we could just think an informed decision is a better decision. So if there's any way we can just, get a sense of how many this teachers this is impacting and reasoning and what's the best remedy, particularly because I notice it's the full week of PD or 3 days, and then it's like, could you do it like a Thursday, Friday? What's more productive for teachers? I guess, it's really just getting a sense of what is their preference so that we can then make the right decision.
Well, thank you. Ms. Hudwagner?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking here at just comparing it to other school districts. And it looks like of the districts that have released their start date, 7 out of 10 of them have start dates that are the week after, or the week before Labor Day, rather. And I'm just kind of thinking of teachers that have children in other surrounding towns, and just trying to correlate our schedule a little bit more, not necessarily to be exactly like other towns, but just to be similar. I think the evidence, like I said, that 7 out of 10 of them are starting that week before, giving teachers and students that one extra week of summer, especially given the fact that we might be adding some holidays here, which could bring us a little bit later in June. I think that there would be great benefit to moving our start date a week later. So that's just my 2 cents. But also, I think it's super important to kind of get a feel for what the teachers are thinking here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Branda?
Thanks, Dr. Fletcher. I think just looking at the calendar and the other districts, August 31st kind of stands out to me as the date that would make the most sense, because just based on our and the calendar, I know we have things to work out with the holidays, but if we were adding 2 or 3 holidays, then, logically you would want to try to end on that Friday in June, which of course we know probably won't happen with snow anyway. But I think it's probably a good idea to try and just bump it out those 3 days and then extend into June 9th. And then we fit inside of what the surrounding districts are looking at. And then just a point for the future, it might be worth it if in the future, as we're talking about this, if Dr. Brummett, maybe through the superintendent group that you're in or anything like that, or maybe even Dr. Fletcher with other board chairs, if we can coordinate early on so that, we can do our best to be on the same page with our surrounding towns, because I'm sure some of them are having the same concerns at times too. So that might be of value. But I know we're not voting tonight, but I think if we were to change it, I think August 31st makes the most sense.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Yap?
Hello. I do have to agree. Looking at the calendar and looking at surrounding towns, I know we do have teachers. I do have to agree with, Danielle, Beth, Jessica, and Michael Branda. August 31st does stand out to me as well. I'm not a teacher, but if I were a teacher, in a surrounding town and, I had younger children and I started, a week prior, that might, pose some difficulties. If we do add I'm just repeating what everybody says, sorry I'm last, but if we do add the other holidays, at least that would give us that leeway. And like, Danielle said, everybody does like that extra week of summer, and it still would give them the full week, like Jessica Weaver said as well. So I am for the August 31st start date as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Weaver?
I just wanted to note too, if combining these kind of agenda items, but South Windsor starts on the 31st and they have Diwali off. So just something to consider as we look at it now. I mean, I don't know if we can ask their superintendent how that's, fared for their teachers, but, never hurts to have more info on it, I guess.
Okay. Ms. Yap, did you have another question?
No,
Okay.
I didn't.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Leverrier?
Yeah, if we start a week before everyone else, hypothetically, does our fall athletic program get to practice before everyone else?
No, there are real strict regulations about when practices start, so no one gets a leg up, so to speak.
Okay.
A figurative. So I can assure you that that's heavily restricted by the CIAC. I don't know all the rules by heart, but that is something we have to follow along with.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, it looks like we have no more questions on that. So we're going to look forward to that coming up as a discussion and action item in the near future.
Yes, and I'll do some homework and bring back some more information for the board for our next meeting.
Okay. All right. I think Ms. Hutt-Wagner, you had a question about something before we go to the next line item.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Fletcher. As I was looking at the next line item, we did receive a very well put together comprehensive packet board members received this afternoon about the budget landscape and kind of preparing us for the upcoming budget season, which is quite exciting. So exciting that last year, that is when my son was born. So, very fun things. Anyway, so given the fact that we do have so many new board members joining us this year, and the fact that we really want to make sure that they have time to accurately digest and formulate good questions and be truly prepared, I'm just wondering if there may be an opportunity to present this at our next meeting so that they can really have adequate time to prepare and look through what's been prepared for them. This is a wonderful packet. I just think it deserves the time to look through.
Okay, so any response, Dr. Brummett?
Yes, we sent that out today as a way for folks to have something to take notes on. We can absolutely, if it's the will of the board, table that for the next board meeting. It is meant to be a budget landscape to give new board members some background, as Ms. Hutt-Wagner very aptly stated. I actually have had some town council members that I made them aware of it. They were in conversations with me, and I shared that this might go on tonight. But certainly, if we just choose to postpone it, we can simply alert them to that fact.
Okay. I think personally, I would like to do that due to the lateness of the night and the ability for us to absorb this, because we really need to be astute when we go through this. So what I'd like to do is on our next agenda, put this on the number one so that it's the very first thing that we hit. Ms. Weaver?
Yeah, just a question. If we want to have enough time to digest, just wondering, our next meeting is the 26th, and then the next week we're presenting on the budget. So is a week enough? I don't know if we need, like, not a special meeting necessarily, but if that's enough time between the budget actually, or this presentation being given, and then the next week actually the budget being presented, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Is that enough?
I know what you're asking. I think it would be, because this is just basically an overview of what we're going to be doing the following week. So there would be nothing in here that we'd have to make a decision on the 26th.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
That is correct. It's meant to be an overview.
Yeah. So Ms. Drozd? You're muted.
I would like to state something, Dr. Fletcher, to Beth, if that is all right with you.
Pardon?
Can I state something to Beth?
Oh, yes. Yes,
Okay,
please. Go
thank
ahead.
you. All right, Beth, I just want to thank you because I do want to, even though I've been on the board, I appreciate you advocating, just kind of digesting. I'm a very visual reader. When I hear and I'm trying to process, it doesn't always work. So I just want to thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Parati?
I guess I would just, on my personal opinion, I wouldn't mind. I'm okay if I'm in the minority here, but I wouldn't mind going through it, at least start to go through it tonight, just because I know there's a lot to learn. And if we postpone another 2 weeks, even if there is enough time to hear the budget, the next meeting after our subsequent one, I just think that it would be good to get a start on at least starting to understand it and not just wait. And I can read it, but hearing it for me is easier to understand things, especially if we can ask questions as we go along.
And we will be able to do that in the meeting on the 26th.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Branda?
Yeah, just since we're talking about not having an agenda item discussed, I just wanted to kind of echo what Ms. Parati said. For me personally, I'm fine with moving forward with the presentation because I would follow along with this and then follow up with questions. But if other board members don't feel like they can be engaged, or maybe that's not the right word, I don't mean it like that, but if they feel like they need to read this in full before they can hear Mr. Jacomowitz, then I totally understand trying to, I guess, push it off for 2 weeks. I just hope that I don't know what the agenda looks like in 2 weeks, but this is probably going to be a pretty lengthy discussion. So I just want to be mindful of that too, especially with the budget meetings coming up that are going to be very long and exhaustive. But I will say I did get a chance really quick to look this over, and I really appreciate this packet. I think even as a board member who's been here for a few years, it's really good information and it's really good to digest. So if others feel they need to read it ahead of time in order to participate, then I'm fine with that. I think it's okay if we don't, but just wanted to say that.
Okay. Ms. Hutt-Wagner?
Thank you. Yeah, just wanted to clarify that I think to prepare for the budget process, especially those are new, and I am not new, but budgets are not my thing. I take extra time, right? We're all different learners. Even though we're adults, we learn differently. And I personally, similar to Ms. Rhodes said, I get out a highlighter, I get out the sticky notes, and I get going. And I feel like this packet was just, thank you. I believe you put this together, Mr. Jacomowitz. This is very well prepared. And there's some wonderful things in here, but I just want to make sure that myself, and if anybody else agrees, and just to advocate for them, that they have the time, because this afternoon, if anybody else has kids or just crazy jobs, between getting them fed and French fries being thrown at the window, didn't have time to fully look at this. Got some ketchup on it, but didn't have time to fully look at it. So I just want to make sure that I am prepared and making the best decisions and really, really being an engaged listener. So that's my only reason. I'm certainly not trying to push anything off, but just trying to make sure that everybody gets the fair chance. And this is adapted to all of our learning styles.
That's perfectly fine.
Thank you. Ms. Yap.
I just wanted to agree with Beth. Thank you. I, have a young child as well, and I hadn't looked at one page of it yet. And I, would like the chance to just, review it, look at it like she does. I'm the same way. I take a highlighter out, make notes, and, I was running around, I hadn't had a chance to even take a look at it. It's not my intent to push anything off. I just want a chance to review it and then, ask questions. And, I don't intend on, postponing it anymore. But, I just, if I had this, a little bit early, maybe I could have reviewed it. But I think that, what she said, applies to me as well. Only because, I have a small child too. So it's hard to review it. And then, I want to make sure I'm making the best decision as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Weaver?
All right, so I just think we're all in agreement that it's very comprehensive and good. So I just want to make sure we dedicate enough time to it. So I would just ask Dr. Fletcher as chair, like if we can figure out within the next week if we should have a special on its own. I anticipate next meeting to have more stuff. So just if in the event that our January 26th meeting gets clogged up, is there a possible way to have this separated? Just because I don't want it to be another line item that we then kind of brush over, because it seems important to everyone on here. So I just want to make sure it gets its due notice, and then we're able to get through some of the longer stuff, because I know our meetings are long still as we belabor this point. So I just want to make sure that that's the case too.
Okay, so what we'll do is Dr. Brumman and I will confer on this, and we'll make some determinations as to what we need to do. Okay, so actually, with our formalities, we do not vote on the agenda before we approach it. So it's at the discretion of the chair that he can move something without a vote. So I am going to do that. I'm going to move this to our January 26th meeting. That'll give everybody that's new an opportunity to read through it and become familiar with the process. And then if you have any questions, you can send emails to Dr. Brummett. And that way we can come into that meeting well prepared. This is going to be a strong and long budget season this time. So we really all need to have our ducks in a row with this one. Okay? So without any further ado, I am going to move on to line item number 7. And it is my understanding, I haven't heard any differently in the last few days, that there are still some open questions on the CIP. So I'm going to ask Dr. Brummett. I'm not sure if you could explain.
Yes, I have notes from our meeting that happened last week, and the direction from the subcommittee at that time was to get them more information about the technology budget, specifically what is covered by the laptop line, and some more information there, and we do have that. And they also wanted more information about do we need as many buses as previously discussed at the meeting on, I believe it was January 5th. And then I was also asked to speak with the athletic director to get his opinion on what turf field we should prioritize, because the committee generally didn't think we should do more than one field at a time. Just to be clear, that's still several years out on our potential list for bonding projects. So what I've done, they did ask us not to change the capital improvement plan as it was discussed the other evening, but to afford the full board the opportunity to see the information that they've requested, and then to determine if they want to reduce or leave items as is. So in the interest of time, since we did go over this at a board meeting in December, I was just going to try to go for just the items that were still under consideration. Is that amenable to you, Dr. Fletcher?
Yes, it is. And we'll hold questions until after this, if you guys don't mind.
All right. So let me get to the capital improvement plan. Again, this is unchanged since the last meeting, but I'm going to show the board, especially those board members that were not at the meeting on January 5th. We didn't make any changes on these earlier pages. We did review some current expenditures, but I think really the concern that we want to talk about tonight, or the issues for tonight, first and foremost, are for technology. So on the technology page, which is page 7 of 9, the board wanted more information about what's really included in that total. So I have, with Lou's support, prepared the technology plan to look at, what is really included here. So I believe it was Rose that asked, what were the laptops for this coming school year? And that would be laptop replacements for middle and elementary teachers. So that would be every teacher in that category would get a new laptop as part of the replacement cycle. I believe someone asked, well, what was spent here in 21-22? That was laptops for high school teachers. The other question that came up was, do we really need to put all of these items in the board capital improvement plan? Because, can we reduce anything? So after that meeting, I did speak to, again, I had already had previous conversations with our high school folks, specifically the art department. And what was included in this $136,000 is desktops for our 2 art labs at the high school, as well as for the broadcast studio, what the presentation you saw this evening. However, looking at those items, conferring with Craig Holland, there is no significant concern if we postpone that a year. So what that would look like is, if I were to do that, we would make that a 0, put that to the subsequent year, 23-24, and we would be able to reduce this to 718,315. And as a reminder for the full board, if you were not at the meeting last week, the subcommittee did ask us to consider, are there funds within the technology insurance fund that we could use to reduce this area? And the answer to that is yes. We believe we can safely reduce our technology ask by $50,000 because of these, healthy balance right now in the insurance fund for our Chromebooks. So the answer, those are the questions that were posed last week. That would bring this ask down to 718. If I were to go back to that page, we could reduce 750 to 718. And that would obviously change the bottom line here. So that would be one area that the board would consider tonight. So I don't know, should I go through the whole thing or ask questions by section, Dr. Fletcher?
Why don't we ask questions by section? That way we can get to the pertinent things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Ms. Strohs?
So I'm going on old board budgets. I got 2 computers going. I feel very fancy. I'm trying to figure out how many teachers. So 2 questions. How many teachers are in the high school? And maybe Mr. Farisi knows that without, I'm searching through old documents here. How many teachers are in the middle and elementary school? And when was the last time they got new laptops?
I can tell you, I'll let Mr. Farisi look at our staffing requirements. I believe, let me get my notes here, that we're on a 5-year cycle for staff laptops. That is my recollection. It's a 5-year cycle, so it would have been 5 years previous.
So my next question, Dr. Brum, is going to be, what do you do with all the laptops when you're done with them?
They go to the laptop graveyard.
Okay.
Located
for
at
parts and stuff.
Yep, we do the same thing. They go to Ruth Chafee. There's a technology center there, and they are on hand for several years. They're used as loaners, or as I mentioned in our subcommittee, harvesting parts where if a laptop were to, but on any given day, if a teacher does not have their laptop, they really, as you can, as a teacher yourself, they can't really function. So we have to have a backup supply, and that's where these older laptops go.
I love you, Dr. Brummett. I have to laugh. I got my first laptop this year in 23 years of teaching. So,
wow. Our teachers they do have access to good technology here in Newington, and it's really helps to revolutionize instruction.
All right, Miss Weaver.
Yeah, I guess to Joe's point, like, I mean, we obviously see variations, and I think it's really good that we have these laptops. I'm just wondering, with the pandemic and the I would say maybe increase in use of these laptops, to the point of, are we going to be seeing an actual increase in need, or I don't know, want to say like they die sooner with overuse? I know that's the case with every laptop I get somehow, that, like, you know, maybe it's just, I don't want to like bash HP or anything here, but I just want to make just wondering if there's any trends you're monitoring with the increased use of laptops during this past year or 2 years, if that will anyway you anticipate affect the replacement cycles.
That we have asked Craig to take that into consideration, so that is included here. And I just to further expand upon that, within that laptop budget line is 100 Windows laptops for middle school teachers and 185 laptops for all 4 elementary school teachers. Mr. Freese, were you able to put your fingers on how many certified staff there are at the high school?
We hover around 120, 123 certified staff. You know, but that includes everyone, not just classroom teachers, so all the support staff as well.
Correct.
And administrators in the building, so it includes everyone.
Right.
could you say that number again, Mr. Freese? I'm sorry.
It's around 123. I can get the exacts and send them to everyone tomorrow.
That'd be
And
great.
some
Thank
of
you.
those laptops, and I can get confirmation from Craig, in addition to the high school, there may be district-wide people that get laptops that I have to confirm that, because it's about the same amount as we're asking for this year. So I believe it would be more than just high school. I'm assuming it must be, because it's a pretty similar amount from last year to this year. Lou, would you happen to know if there were any other groups that got laptops this year?
I believe there were, let me think here. Teachers, I know we had outfit some of our higher needs special ed students with the laptops or the higher end Chromebooks to support the one-on-one programs that we have that are there. Okay. The some of the computer labs that need to be done for the second floor at the high school and the science areas were embedded in there someplace, but I can't remember exactly where that was.
Yep.
Yeah,
if the board needs more information about what was included in 21-22, we can get that for you.
Yeah.
For sure, 22-23, this number here, 364-210, reflects laptops for middle school teachers and elementary teachers. But if we need any background or forensic information from this year, we can get that for you.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Yap.
Oh, were you finished speaking? Go.
Yes, I'm sorry. When I present, I can't see anyone's faces, so go right ahead, Ms. Yap.
Okay, so currently, I just want to clarify. Currently, we don't have the technology fund, correct? We don't have that line item.
I'm not sure I understand the question right now.
We don't have anything allocated just specifically towards technology.
No, we do not. And when I get into that presentation, when Lou and I do that presentation in 2 weeks, we will show the board the historical funding. There's been very little historical funding for technology. And during that presentation, we'll explain where the funding has come from for technology. But right now, there's nothing in this year's budget for technology. These items were all paid for by a health benefit credit, which we're going to get into in the budget presentation, I suppose, in 2 weeks.
Okay. That was my question. I just wanted to know if that was.
Absolutely.
All right, we have another question from Ms. Parati.
Thank you. So if we do move that 136,000 in desktops to next year, 23, 24, just looking at the bottom line, that bumps it up by a significant amount that obviously we would have had this year. So is there, next year we're going to have the same conversation. It's going to be a lot of money. Are we concerned just looking ahead, we keep pushing things down the road that might cause some issues? Because eventually I'm sure that those desktops will be old and unusable and frustrating for students who are trying to use them. So just that thought.
Absolutely. Anytime we postpone a purchase, whether it's a computer or a bus, we run the risk of, failure or sluggishness or repairs in the case of buses. So, it's a calculated risk, and that's something that the board will need to contemplate as we make these decisions.
Michelle, did you have another question? Oh, okay, thank you. Mr. Leverrier?
Yes, so with the technology infrastructure at $750K, what was the technology department outside of the infrastructure? Do we know how much the funding went to that department as a whole?
You mean for like operating expenses such as subscriptions and such? Lou, you might
And
have
for everything, for like, the whole department for the whole year.
Okay. For the staffing in the department has the director plus 6 full-time technicians, and there are anywhere from 3 to 6 part-timers and interns that support the department. A lot of that work is in the Chromebook repair shop of cycling back 1,000 to 1,500 devices a year for the general repair work that's there. I'd have to look specifically to give you the dollars for the salaries. There is a modest amount of money school by school for their own educational technology academic side of the work in the technology ed program. Those are for their unique software programs that are grade level specific or subject level specific that are there. At the district level, the IT shop runs a modest repair account, which is $25,000, along with somewhere around in the $450,000 to $550,000 for all the network services, service contracts, access to cloud services, a number of the cybersecurity things that we have to manage, our general infrastructure programs like VMware to run virtual networking. We need the support with the Aruba wireless network that we have here with all the access points and the supporting software for it. So those are all the components of what drives the hardware once it's out there. In the budget that is on screen right now, the infrastructure number here varies from as low as $25,000 a year up to almost $400,000 a year. That'll be the cycling in and out of the actual durable goods as far as server replacements, closet upgrades for the patch panels and the switches that drive the networking. It could also include various wiring upgrades needed to navigate the next generation of things. One of the biggest areas that is involved in the audiovisual area, where when we've gone from the old style jack plugs for your audio inputs and outputs through a DVI input, and now we're at the HDMI level for that. As those are replaced and upgraded and improved over the years, equipment and all of the endpoints and connectors have to be adapted to be able to support that. So as new hardware is coming in that may have a different configuration than the old stuff, we have to basically build a transition plan to keep all of those devices functional. We can't just say, okay, well, we now have a mismatch in our math classroom at the high school, so they don't get projection this year. So it's very task specific, and really a classroom by classroom evaluation that needs to be done to make sure we keep everybody as technology ready as possible throughout the district, for the benefit of our teaching group.
So kind of to summarize Lou's answer, it's about $500,000 in technology for the operating budget, not
Correct.
including
Equipment budget.
staffing.
Not
And then
including what?
Staffing.
Not
Yeah,
including
staff.
staffing. Again, tonight's discussion is meant to be on the capital plan. The board will get a very detailed presentation about the operating budget in February when we get into that. For tonight's discussion, this is what needs to be approved, as soon as possible, because it needs to be forwarded to the town. And this strictly is the capital aspects.
So I just want to make sure, though, that because I want to make sure that I have a totally thorough understanding. I am a new board member, and but with 500K plus staffing, is it possible that the tech department has $1 million before the infrastructure line item?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Droz, you have a question? Nope, they went down. Okay.
Okay. So that is.
I'm a very consistent human being. I just want you to know this. And Dr. Bromley can say when we are on our committee meetings, I don't do this. So I want to say I do agree with Ms. Weaver that we need to make sure that we don't not spend the money we need to spend, so that down the road, we kind of cause a problem with not having the right funds. With that, and I also don't want to nickel and dime an entire budget, but I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm doing my quick little middle school math, calculations on my phone, and it's coming out to like $1,800 per laptop. And those are like Mac Daddy laptops. And we, and so my concern is, I know I can remember vividly talking to a teacher, and she spun her laptop around and she was doing her little touch screen and rubbing it in her face, my face, and that she had one and I didn't. But I think we need to be really cautious when we're talking about a budget in a tough season of, do we really need to replace all of them for those 2 grade levels? Or for those 2 schools? Do we need to spend $1,800 a laptop? And I have to be conscious of what we're spending our money on, because I do know it's going to be a tough season with COVID and all the extra expenses. So
I will say it's actually not $1,800 a laptop. Part of the expenses that are above the cost of the laptop are the onboarding of the devices, loading in the programs that all the teachers have to have, the warranty costs. So I believe the laptops on their own legs are $1,200. So and then the up charges are for all those up.
We also have to provide spares in case machines go out of service. So the number that are purchased will be more than what the actual staff is.
Yeah, and what we do on these projected replacement cycles these are the recommended replacement cycles by the staff that work intimately with the devices. The board certainly has the option to either extend it or disagree with it, but this is the recommendation by our technology team after it's been vetted by myself and Lou and some of our administrators. Now, we agree that this could be postponed a year. Folks will have to determine if they want to roll the dice on some of these other expenses.
Okay, we have another question, Ms. Yop.
Hi, my question is, so you're saying it's about $1,200 per laptop. Have we shopped around to see if we can get, maybe different vendors where we can, since we're buying so many, if we can get a better deal or a better price on this, shopped, software, or, is there anything that you can provide to us that shows us a breakdown of, how much this will cost, from this vendor versus another one? I just feel like $1,200 is excessive. per laptop, not including all the software, I think we should, look at as many options as we can, not just go with, okay, I know we need a laptop, I know we need that software, but I think we should, look around as well. I don't think we should just go for, the first thing we see.
Yeah, I would like to add that any of the pricing that you see in here is the result of some significant shopping around, getting to the vendors that are reputable, but also are cost effective. So we absolutely, as part of our day-to-day operations, shop for the best deals, be it a bus, be it a computer, be it a book. All of that is vetted and carefully processed.
One more question. Is there any way you guys can present this to the board? Maybe, and we can take a look at that? Or is that not something that we're able to see? If you looked at multiple vendors, can we see, what one offered versus another? Are we allowed?
Can I jump in on that, Maureen? Yeah. Can I jump in, Maureen?
Go right ahead.
Yep. Anastasia, one of the key resources that the Board of Ed uses here, as well as all boards of ed, Connecticut and even nationwide, is what they call purchasing consortiums. And there's a whole variety of them that specialize in different niche areas of school operations, technology being one of those. And the vendors get themselves aligned with organizations that facilitate the entire purchasing consortium. Several of those are the Massachusetts Higher Education Consortium and an organization out of Pennsylvania called PEPM. And these are sanctioned low bid organizations where they substitute as state contract programs. So in working with all of these selected groups, they're automatically presenting the best available price that is generally available to school districts that want to do business with them. And the configuration of the devices, the resources that are asked for will generate some subtle differences, but by and large, we get really good pricing for the caliber of the machines that we need in order to run in the networking environment that we have. So that's really addresses or should address the board's concerns about, are we really out shopping for the best deal? And the answer is yes to that, as well as just the recognition of, having very consistent equipment of how it's resourced, how it functions and operates with all the different attributes. That is really essential to keep a organization that's highly dependent on the success of the technology stable, so we can give our teachers the best chances possible to have a successful day in the classroom.
Obviously I want the teachers to have the best, the best of the best, best technology. But I would like to see, if possible, what was presented, just.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we can certainly provide, sample information of the profile of the device that we're looking at, or, for the different things like the art department ones that we're talking about, that deferral of the $136,000. Those were the high caliber Mac computers that were really designed for graphic arts and for the art department. So they've got to be able to run Adobe Creative. And one of the things that is just so important is, when we have a working relationship with a teacher, we basically bought time. And if we saddle them with technology that's really slow, where there's a lot of downtime and waiting time for the technology to be responsive, it negatively impacts the students' interaction with the teachers and just the general success level in the classroom. So the machines that we typically get have a little more muscle than, say, a home laptop would be, because you're trying to make sure you take advantage of leveraging the time of a teacher. And if instead of a boot up of a computer taking 4 minutes, it can be a minute and a half, that's 2.5 more teaching minutes for the teacher that's there. And as that's aggregated over the course of the year, it's meaningful amounts of time that are turned into face time between the teacher and the student.
I absolutely agree. I'm a Apple person myself. Everything I have is Apple, so I definitely understand the importance of that. And, we definitely don't want to negatively impact, our teachers or our students. But I do think it's important for the board to see these numbers. So if you
Great.
could present that to us, I would like to see that, please.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Dr. Brummett,
Yes.
where do we stand on your presentation?
We are now ready to move into let me get to the right page here. So sounds like we're not probably going to land on a number tonight here for technology until we get more information. The next area that the board wanted more information about was the bus replacement cycle. So I don't know if he's still on the line, but I did invite Dean Barnes here. We did look very, very judiciously at the bus replacement cycle again, and made some recommended adjustments. In fact, I've highlighted all the changes in green. So the board was concerned, do we have a larger fleet than necessary? As I mentioned in the subcommittee meeting, and Lou also said this, that we hung on to some of these buses on the top line because of the current COVID market and the delay. For example, buses that we ordered last year have not been received yet. But that being said, with a careful eye, we looked at next year's request, which is the line in salmon, and we did reduce. Originally, we said we needed 2 buses in this category, the 10 plus 2 lift. We've reduced that to 0, putting that on hold for at least another year. So this ask has gone from 7 to 5. It does reduce next year's cost for buses, but when we average that into the subsequent years, because when you postpone them in this year, then you've got to place them in subsequent years. And the green highlighted areas are where we've either reduced or added buses in subsequent years. So that impacts the numbers here, both plus and minus. And I think, as we mentioned during the subcommittee meeting, the buses are more expensive now because of COVID parts and COVID steel prices. Everything's gone up. These bus prices here are the current market pricing. This is, if we were to average all these expenses out into a 12-year replacement cycle, this is what it would look like for our annual cost. And over here is what it would look like if we did an 11-year replacement cycle, which is what Mr. Barnes recommends. He has commented to us in meetings preparing for this evening that he's worked for companies that really stretched out the replacement cycle too far, and there was bus failures, extraordinary expenses. I think he told me when an engine fails on a bus, it's $25,000. When a transmission fails, it's $15,000. I also verified with Mr. Barnes that the trade-in value for buses right now is not great. So while we would trade some of these in, if next year the board decides to purchase buses, they are not going to get us a lot of trade-in value. I think I see or hear hands are up, Dr. Fletcher.
All right, Ms. Yap. You are muted.
Sorry. So we currently have 74 buses. I know, Lou, me and you went over these numbers, and I just want to, go over it again. And you had said we used how many at a given time? Was it 45? I just wanted to ensure.
That's actually a separate presentation. I will say to the board tonight, it is about 10 o'clock. If we want to get into buses needed, which we have, it is a pretty detailed discussion. But if we want to go brief here, the short answer to Ms. Yap's question is during the school year, we have 89 runs per day. In the summer, we have 41 runs per day. And what that equates to in terms of buses needed, and of course, my screen doesn't want to cooperate. There it is we need 71 buses on a daily basis to meet all of our demands. And of course, you can't run on just keeping the exact amount you need. You have to have backups for repairs, maintenance. So we are recommending right now a fleet of about 74 buses. So this is the routes we have every day, and this is the number of buses we need to keep the routes going. And the other thing we don't talk about a lot is, field trips require buses, pre-K, midday runs, sport buses, sport runs, after school late buses. There's a very significant number of routes that come and go throughout the district on a daily basis. So I don't know. I would recommend, Dr. Fletcher, if the board wants to get into the real granular, like cost of all the computers and cost of bus runs and analysis like that, I would recommend we do have a special meeting and have some granular, highly detailed discussions in which I would invite Mr. Holland to talk about technology and Mr. Barnes to talk about the operations of our buses. I think that sounds like the kind of detail the board might want.
I think that's a good idea. I think we need to do that. So we have some questions from people. Ms. Drozd?
Did you say Miss Drozd? I coughed.
Yes, I did.
I'm sorry. I was coughing when you said that. I don't have COVID. I took a test. So I don't know if this is possible, and I don't want to break any policies or rules or anything like that. Stuff like this. So I wish I could take a picture of how tiny it is on my Chromebook. If we can get this, again, I'm a very I need to read, I need to write, just looking at this on a computer screen, nothing's processing. If we can get this ahead of time, I think it would make these meetings just go a little bit faster. I'm trying to look at this. I'm waiting for you to scroll. I want you to scroll back. I don't know if that's something that can be handed out to us ahead of time, because it really would be beneficial. And I agree, having a special meeting is a great idea, but having this ahead of time might make those meetings go a little bit faster. Just a thought.
Okay,
Mr. Branda?
Thanks, Dr. Fletcher. I'm just wondering, what is our timeline on needing to push this forward either way? Just because I know we're asking a lot of questions. So just wondering what that timeline is of when this needs to be voted on.
The town manager actually wanted this in December. We have had two subcommittee meetings as well as a board meeting in December. So this is probably our fourth time discussing it. I believe he wants it sooner than later. I don't know exactly when the town deliberates on the capital plans, but I think we need to make a decision sooner than later. So it's clear tonight won't be the night, and that's why I would recommend a special meeting, and we can provide the board with some of this information, all of it, ahead of time. Some of the information we're presenting tonight is in response to questions raised at the subcommittee level, so that's why we presented it tonight. We've been tabulating it for about a week, but if certainly the board can get copies of these hard copies in advance of a special meeting.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So we're kind of on a short timeline, short answer to Mr. Branda's question.
Yes. Okay, so is that something that you and I need to do together, set the date?
Yes, I think you and I can converse tomorrow, Dr. Fletcher, and it would help. I believe I've written down questions raised tonight. I believe I heard we needed to see some of our invoices or quotes that we're getting from technology companies. We need more. I don't know if I have any more questions about the bus other than people want to look at these routes in more detail. So I think it would help to get any questions folks have so that we can actually gather it and have it ready for everyone at the next meeting.
Okay. All right, we have a couple more questions here. Ms. Weaver?
Yeah, I guess perhaps just one question about, I guess this will be a full board meeting. I think one of the things perhaps moving forward, I don't know, it feels like we are splitting nickels right now and it's late. But I want to make sure that everyone gets the information they need. I do trust Maureen and Lou and Craig and Dean to vet these. I think this is probably the most in-depth we've seen in a long time. and we really appreciate it. And I know this is a lot of work on top of the work that you're already doing, like running a school system. So I want to respect that time and work. But perhaps maybe a solution to this is that we combine this and maybe that board presentation into a special meeting. And I think time is of the essence. So I want to make sure that, you know, I truly do take your recommendations because I do trust that you thoroughly vet these. I think in past board budgets, you've shown that. So I don't want it to, you know, I do want to be able to get in the weeds, but not too much that it creates now a burden on all of your team to take away from other time. But I want to make sure that, you know, we do vet this, I guess. So I guess my question would be, can we combine this special meeting for both this review item as well as the other agenda items so others have time to look at it over?
Okay, well, we will discuss that. Okay, Ms. Yop, another question?
My question's in regards to the buses, because Maureen had said if we have any questions. So I did hear you, I do remember from the meeting that you said the trade-in value on the buses, and Lou, correct me if I was wrong, was about $2,000 because they were so old. Is that correct?
It'll range anywhere from as low as $500 to $2,000 for vehicles that are over 10 years old at the point of trading them in. And
Okay.
I'm talking about the big buses primarily. You know, some of the specialty vehicles with the lift gates and things like that, depending on their condition, may fetch a little bit more, but not substantially in this market.
So my question is this: why are we waiting until they're 10 and 12 years old to trade them in, as opposed to constantly buying new buses? I don't know if anybody's put this out there, but you know, what if we traded them in between 6 and 8 years, and then we would get a larger amount than $500 to $2,000, and then we would have extra money to buy new buses, and we're not waiting until they're at the end of their life cycle, essentially. Trading the buses in at 6 to 8 years old, as opposed to 14 years old, you're obviously going to get more money. So has anyone considered that and then used what they got in return to buy additional buses?
I'd have to see what the real aftermarket prices. That even at an 8-year-old vehicle, I wouldn't be surprised if the trade-in is only $10,000 to $15,000 at that point. And when you're paying $100,000 for the bus, you know, we really are managing around the expectations of the state inspectors for the quality of the bus, as far as how the frame is holding up, all the working aspects of it. So a lot of times a bus is retired earlier because it's had, you know, repetitive problems with its transmission or its engine, which it's not worth putting that kind of money back into the vehicle. A lot of times that 10-year mark is where inspectors start really putting a critical eye on the vehicle, especially like on the undercarriage, if there's any rust or rot. If there is a you know, any sort of rot away on the bottom of the bus, it'll immediately come out of service. And then you have a major repair job to put that bus back in service at that point. So these are questions that really are best served to be answered by Mr. Barnes, because he knows the technical elements and where all of the right spot is to take action on different things. More than anything else is more of just a matter of economics, of how much can be afforded to be reinvested in buses every year, and how long do we want to keep them to really maximize the investment we've made in it. And in Mr. Barnes's assessment, he feels we can get, you know, as mainstream 11 years for the vehicles, because we take real good care of them, and you know, and not having vehicles that are prone to, you know, a lot of difficulties. We have real good rapport with the inspectors, and they know they're going to get a good bus to review, and it just makes the whole system work better. So those are, you know, really specific questions. I would say Mr. Barnes knows better than I do in this area.
Is there?
Yeah, and I think, you know, when we have our experts on staff, such as our bus coordinator, he's been in the industry for about 30 years. But I think, again, because we're already agreed that we're going to do a special meeting, we can gather up these questions and have Mr. Barnes prepared to discuss them about why we would not go to a 6-year cycle or an 8 or 10, or, you know, what are the rationale behind that, and why buses, what's the industry standard, what's our experience. Those are all decisions made by our experts in the field versus, you know, Lou and I are have different backgrounds. Anyway, so I'm going to put that as one of the questions. Why are we not trading them in sooner? Is that a better way to go? Any other questions that we should be prepared to discuss? And we will get these detailed pages out to the board as well ahead of time.
Okay. I don't see any more questions, so I think that what I need to do is I'm going to move the meeting on. I'm going to go to public participation at this point, and we will carry this on in our next meeting once we get it set. So at this time, I'm going to open up for public participation on any matter related to board responsibilities. Civil participation is limited to 3 minutes. We also ask you to state your name and the street that you live on. And what was I going to say? Okay, any questions that you ask, we will attempt to answer them, but not tonight. Okay, so we have up Ms. Havens. Go ahead.
Hi, Dana Havens, Stoddard Avenue. I just want to refer back to the extra holidays that you're thinking of putting in. Now, this is not a problem for me. However, when I think back to when I needed daycare for my children or needed to be home for my children because they were younger, the thought of adding like 3 more holidays, and then that means I need to either take 3 more days off or pay for 3 more days of daycare, it's horrifying. So I'm thinking, can we make these extra holidays or maybe some other holidays, take them away as a day off and turn them into that whole, if you want to take it off, it's not going to count against you thing. Because this could really affect people's pocketbooks. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. I don't see anybody else in public participation. I'm going to leave it open for a moment. But what I'll do is I'll take a moment now. If there are any more comments or remarks by the board members, I will address those now, entertain them. Ms. Havens, if you don't mind, if you could put your hand down. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Branda.
Sorry, speaking of technology funds, things are just not going well over here, but we're hanging in. So I'm going to just leave my camera off because everybody keeps freezing. Really quick, I was just wondering if with regards to future agendas, with everything going on with the Anna Reynolds Building Committee, if it would be possible to have that as a consistent item on our agenda for just an update. I know those meetings obviously are viewable, but I wish, the truth was that I watch every committee meeting that I'm not on, but I'm not able to. And today I saw a former committee member post some items on social media about some potential financial issues that were popping up that could actually end up sending us to potentially another referendum for those expenses. And I'm not sure, the factual nature of that post, but I think it just speaks to the need of just making sure that we are all informed on what's going on with that project up to date, because I know Dr. Brummett, you and Lou especially are working so hard on that project with the committee, and it would just be really helpful to have that as a standing item if possible. The other thing I just wanted to quickly address was to Ms. Yazer, because she knows this. She and I exchanged some emails last spring, and I hope she knows that, despite the fact that I disagree with her, I do respect the fact that she's so passionate about this issue. But a couple of things that I just wanted to point out, just in case others were listening. It sounded as though Ms. Yazer was implying that by having the protocols that we are in some way accepting a bribe from the state or federal government for funding. And I think personally, we consistently see in our schools that our students are coming back from exposures that are outside the school, and then the spread in our buildings is pretty limited because of our protocols. And I really do think that you can credit protocols to that. And I think that that's a credit to Dr. Brummett for listening to experts in the field that are advising her and her team. And I'll be honest, is it ideal? Absolutely not. But to be honest, I'm thankful to Dr. Brummett and her team for doing absolutely the best that they can under these incredibly challenging circumstances. And to all the teachers and even the students. I mean, it's such a terrible time right now, and everybody's just trying to get by. And it's just a near impossible situation where I don't feel like we ever feel like we're winning, but we're doing the best that we can. I could spend hours discussing the differences on this topic with Ms. Yeager. And if she would like to email me, I'm sure she has my email. But lastly, I just did want to push back on one thing because it was personal to me as well. I'm here to say publicly, without any hesitation, no regret at all, that I'm very grateful to Mercy Hetherington, Dr. Brummett, and everybody who played a role in that clinic, because helping families who value the science and wanted to get their kids vaccinated without having to run around trying to find a location and a time that fit in their schedule, that was so invaluable. I can speak as a parent who, got a child vaccinated during it, and I know several. I was speaking to so many people there. That was such a huge event for our town, and everybody that was involved deserves credit for it. And I just vehemently disagree with the fact that when she stated that it shouldn't have taken place at our school. So thank you to everybody for tonight, for the discussion. I thought we had some great discussion points, and I look forward to the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Branda. And Mr. Leverrier.
Yes, just briefly, I know that there's the possibility of having a special meeting to go over further budget situations, and maybe it would be good to, approach the possibility of potentially sending facilities matters toward the town. Perhaps that is something that we may want to consider adding to the agenda in the future.
Okay. Just as a point of information, the process is that it usually comes out of a committee. So there is a town and a joint committee that would have to discuss that, as well as possibly the facilities committee here, but we will take that under advisement.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't see any other hands. So I want to say thank you to everyone for your participation tonight. We've had a lot of discussions, a lot of information, and I look forward to moving forward. And Dr. Brummett, tomorrow, I will be available after 12 tomorrow. I'm in class until noon. So anytime after that, you can reach out to me.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you. So with that said, I will entertain a motion
to adjourn.
There you go. Ms. Weaver got the second.
I thought I was going to motion. Oh my God.
Miss Emily. All right. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. And everybody else, good night.
Take care.
Take care.